Hello everybody, how you doing? People have been talking about it for weeks. Jackie, what is going on? She's saying things and seems to be expressing them with some kind of purpose. But what is it? How do we know? You know? And I agree. I remember way back on August 23rd, I think it was day 4 of trial when opening statements happened. Whenever it was, way back in late August, was it August or September? August. Okay, way back in late August. Watching Jackie Fulford's opening statement, and I'd been waiting for months. I'd been waiting for months to see if Donna Adelson was going to have a defense team. I mean, not Zellman, but someone else that could do something, right? Something better than Daniel Rashbaum. I had hope. And when I watched Jackie Fulford's opening statement, which I haven't seen since, I thought, idiot that I was, I thought, is this good? I think this might be good. I think we might be in for a good defense. How wrong I was. So I think it's important for us here at the True Crime Metrix community to go back and look at Jackie Fulford's opening statement and her closing argument, which is quite long. I didn't remember that it was so long. It's an hour and 54 minutes, the closing argument. The opening is a little shorter. Well, a lot shorter. I think it's 30 or just over. So we might have to watch the closing argument on double speed. But Jackie's going to tell us all about her case. She's going to tell us about Donna Adelson's case. She's going to tell us and tell the jury about the kind of defense that we can expect to see at trial. Right? So that's what we're going to be watching. By popular demand, everyone's been saying, as we've been watching little bits and pieces, witnesses, and all different kinds of stuff, why can Jackie Fulford not do anything? Well, we're going to find out here, now. Look at him there. Isn't he great? Something tells me he's got a whole bag of marshmallows. Not even opened. He's savoring the moment until he hears that pop.
Everyone can be seated. Is the defense prepared to give its opening statement at this time?
Yes, Judge.
You may proceed.
Thank you. Your Honor, counsel.
Come on, Peggy.
Good morning. My name is Jackie Fulford, and I, along with Mr. Zellman, represent Mrs. Adelson, and I don't think you've heard my voice yet. Well, I'm going to try and talk slow, because if I don't, the court reporter's going to scream at me.
I'm going to try and talk slow, and I'm going to be really laying on the southern twang, you know? Because I'm like you, Tallahassee. I'm like you, regular layman of the community, okay? You and me. You like grits for breakfast? So do I. You like going to the annual Tallahassee pig race into the swamp? So do I.
I just want to start by saying this. Remember, during the course of the proceedings, that the state always gets to go first. But the defense has a right to be heard too. So please keep an open mind until you hear from us as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should rock, paper, scissors for that, don't you? The state has the burden, so they get the chance to go first and plant their story first. Now, you could say that is an advantage. I think it is. But that's because they have the burden, right? But a shrewd defense attorney, we're not going to see one of those today, but we have seen it in the past, right? A shrewd defense attorney will make good use of coming second, respond to what the prosecution said. We saw it in the Casey Anthony trial. We saw it in the Colin Griffith trial. It's just not going to happen here.
You just sat through an opening statement. The presentation was pretty cool. I'm old-fashioned, so I don't use that kind of stuff, but
it was really slick, wasn't it? Whoever they've got working on the PowerPoint in the state attorney's office in Leon County is fucking doing a good job. Do you think they outsourced? Do you think they went online to one of those, what is it called? Fiverr or something? You know, can you make us a PowerPoint?
for an hour you heard about this killing. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. And you heard an awful lot about why they think Donna Adelson has the motive to kill Danny Markell. And you heard an awful lot about what other people did in this case. But not a single piece of evidence was discussed that shows that Donna Adelson planned this, hired anybody to do this, or intended that this happen. And I just want you to be mindful that when we're at the end of the case and the judge gives you the instructions, and he gives them, I won't do that. When he gives you the instructions, he's not going to give you an instruction that says the state has to prove motive. He's going to...
Do you remember Donna Adelson at the sentencing when she was doing her statement? And Judge Everett, what did he say? You can absolutely continue, but the court has the right to take note of the utter lack of remorse that you are displaying. You know, her whole thing was basically, what evidence showed that I showed before the murder, you know, underlined, before the murder. They have a complete misunderstanding of the basic fundamentals of law, evidence, you know. It's so funny. Like if you shoot someone randomly when there's no one around, right? And you haven't spoken about it to anyone, but later, after the killing, you're caught on video saying, this involves the two of us.
I'm going to give you elements of each offense, and he's going to say that each element of each offense has to have actual evidence to prove that. Not motive, actual evidence that those things happened. We're going to have a long trial, and I know you all are kind of prepared for that, at least in your mind. You know it's going to happen, and it's going to be long, and we're going to have days. And you're going to hear a lot of evidence and phone calls and text messages and emails. But I want to ask you to never, ever stop thinking for the 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks that we're here about why it is we are really here. Not just because Donna Adelson is on trial, but because 2 men killed Danny Markell. Don't forget Danny. He was an amazing professor. He was very well educated. He had 2 degrees, I think, from Harvard, one of them from law school there. He was a professor. He had students. He was very well respected by his peers, his colleagues. He traveled all over the place to talk.
Fella, amazing professor, 2 degrees from Harvard, traveled all over the place. I mean, you know, what is she trying to do? What is she trying to tell us? She's trying to tell us that the defense like Professor Markell. right? They love Professor Markel because he was a great professor and he traveled all over the place.
Talk at conferences. They wanted him there for him to come and speak. Very, very intelligent man, and I can't say I know because I never met him. I wish I had. But I know he had to be proud of all that he had achieved. It was his career was important to him. Him continuing to educate himself so that he could get tenure at the law school as a professor. He worked very hard. He earned a lot. What he did not earn was for somebody to do this to him. You're going to hear that Wendy Adelson, the daughter of my client, was married to Danny. And I'm not trying to be informal when I say that. I respect Mr. Markel, Dr. Markel, but because so many people in the trial are going to refer to him as Danny, I'm going to do that if that's okay. But I don't mean any disrespect by doing that. More important to Danny Markel than anything in the world were his little boys. He had 2 little children when this happened to him, a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old. When the divorce first happened, when Wendy moved out, he did not want the divorce. That was in 2012. And they squabbled during the divorce, they did. Each side argued for their side. The other side argued for their side. That's what happens in divorce. Divorce is not fun. Divorce is not usually friendly. Some of us have had friendly divorces, but not everybody does. And a lot of things were said. But moving forward to 2014 is where we're going to concentrate on, because that's when Danny was killed. And in 2014, with these little boys that he had, the divorce had been over for a year. Relocation, the opportunity, even discussion about it, ended. On July 31st, when the final judgment was entered, relocation was over. The state told you that. The court denied it with prejudice. She could never raise it again. Nobody was fighting anymore about where these little boys would be. Danny advocated for not only himself in the divorce, he advocated for his children. They are an important part of his life. He wanted as much time as he could get with them. They ended up splitting the time equally between Wendy and Danny. Their schedules changed a little bit on how they worked that out, but it was 50%. This bug is driving me crazy too. What in the world is that? Sorry. He continuously, from the time Wendy moved out till the time that he was killed, spent as much time as he could get with his children. He loved being with them. If it wasn't...
Jackie, I know you work at a funeral home or whatever, but this is not... Doesn't this sound like something that someone would read at his funeral? A brilliant professor, traveled a lot, and spent as much time as he could with those boys.
His time to have the children, he would go to their little preschool and spend time with them there. He wanted to talk to them on the phone as much as he could. You guys are way younger than me, so maybe you don't even know about this, but I guess there was a thing called Skype. I don't even know if it still exists, but I guess it's like FaceTiming, but doing it on your computer. And that's how he wanted to talk to his kids, so that he could see them when he wasn't with them while he spoke to them. Now,
okay, she's a professional, she's a judge. She was a judge before she was disgraced, you know. I mean, Skype was around, in the early 2000s? More than 20 years ago? She's heard of fucking Skype, okay? It was a big deal. Not so much anymore. But, you know, it was a big deal. I mean, why is she pretending to... I guess there's this thing called Skype or Skipe? What is that? You know, it goes hand in hand with that, I'm old-fashioned, I don't have a PowerPoint. You know, why is that they're trying to demonstrate that they've got less guns than the state? They're the little guy, the underdog, right? They're hoping that someone looks at that image that's being created by, I don't know what Skype is, and I'm old-fashioned, no PowerPoint. They're hoping someone takes that kind of, you know, the image that starts to build and goes, oh man, the state is railroading these people because they're the state and they've got all that power and you know, finance. It's not fair, it's unequal.
At 3 and 4, it's kind of hard to wrangle them to sit down in front of a screen. So Danny came
They did it with Jeff.
up with a really good idea. When he Skyped the children, it would be most of the time after the kids had had their dinner and had their baths, where they're kind of calmed down, they're not in their little running around state, and he would read bedtime stories to them. When he didn't have his little kids, he still wanted to know that when the children went to bed, they didn't forget about Daddy. And he made sure that didn't happen. These kids are...
Yeah, he tried, but unfortunately he was murdered. And your client, how do you do it? We had a spelling of this earlier. Where is it? Client. Your client, you know, did everything in her power to make those boys forget. You know.
They're not deprived of their father. Their father was brutally taken from them. Not just when they were 3 or 4, or 5 or 6, or 7 or 8, but up into their teens. They lost the opportunity because someone took it from them to grow up with a father, to have his involvement and influence in their lives, to talk about what he did as a kid and share his experiences. All of that was stolen from him. That's very important. This Skyping that he did with his kids, Mrs. Adelson, when she had the little boys, actually arranged so she could do that with him. And she would keep the kids in front of the screen while he talked to his children. You've heard a lot about how she hated him. She said some ugly things during the divorce. Pretty foul things, actually. Mm-hmm. But you're going to learn through the evidence why that was occurring and how she was actually interacting with Danny. They're two very different things. I want to talk to you now about my client, Donna Adelson. She is a normal person, just like all of us. At the time that this happened, she was 64 years old, married to her husband, Dr. Adelson, a dentist. Now they've been married 54 years. It was somewhere in the 40-year range when this happened 11 years ago. And she got up in the morning and went to work, not at her and Harvey's business, like you were just told. She went to the business owned by her son. Every morning, they got up and they went to work.
Yeah, it was the same business, lady, you know. It was always, you know, an Adelson business. I mean, they just changed the name, the ownership, what do you call it, the ownership registration to, you know, for some fucking tax. Oh, you know, I've paid too much tax this year, so if we put the business in your name, Charlie, that'll start from scratch, and we won't be liable to the IRS because they're onto us. They're looking at us and they're thinking, how much tax have they paid? how much tax do they owe? So we better do that switch name thing and put it in your name for a while, but then you'll sell it back to me.
Work. She did the books, she kept the books, she greeted patients, she got charts out. At 7:30 every morning, she was there and organized and had everybody ready to go because they had a little staff meeting. So everybody could know what to expect, what patients they were going to see, what they were going to take care of. She was there working, sometimes late into the evening, just like all of us. She's a normal person. People who know Donna will tell you that she is not the person that the state is portraying her to be.
What, like Mr. Shagalot? I think that might be a small show that we can do tomorrow. I want to do a deep dive. I want to do a worldwide deep dive into Mr. Worldwide Shagalot. I just find him really interesting as a person. Fuck the case, you know. I was having to dig around on LinkedIn, and I found some stuff. Not on LinkedIn, actually, it was somewhere else. But I did find probably enough stuff that we could do a worldwide deep dive into Mr. Shagalot. So, I know he's a minor character in this whole thing, but I find him interesting, and I hope you do too.
She's kind, caring, loving. She cares more about people than she does about herself. Now, what happened on July the 18th of 2014?
She cares more about people than she does about herself. You know, I wish we could just skip to the complaint she made about spaghetti and potatoes being the sole source of her nutrition in jail.
You've heard the state describe it, but I want to talk about it for a minute. The state is going to be able to prove to you some of the things they were talking about. Can everybody see it okay? No? Oh.
The way Zellman moves, he always looks like he's helping out his mother, you know? Like, let me get that for you, Mom. You're not lifting a finger around here, Mom. I've got the easel. Look at him.
Prove to you some of the things they were talking about.
It's like his mother's called him over because a light bulb has gone out and she wants him to change it. Even the way Jackie looks over at him, it's like, what's the wattage, Mom? Is it a screw bulb or one of those bayonet kinds? And Jackie's age probably is a bayonet kind, right? Push, then twist. Not just twist. Push, then twist.
About.
You know, Mom, you should really go down to the, environmental low wattage bulbs. It cuts your energy bill in half.
Can everybody see it okay? Oh. No. Oh.
Just arrange the easel. Just raise your hands and everyone can see the easels clearly. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So the state told you that he got up every day, just like he normally did, on July the 18th of 2014. And I just want to say this also. Throughout the trial, you may hear me say that he was murdered on that date. Somehow he survived for another 11 hours. But in my opinion, all the evidence is going to show that what killed him took place on the 18th, and he was just able to survive long enough into the next day. So on that date, July 18th of 2014, these two men, Sigfredo Garcia and Luis Rivera, followed Danny all over town. Started at his house, followed him to the school where the little children were going to school, the preschool where he dropped them off, watched him drop those kids off, followed.
Hey, check it out. They're still contending this thing about the $138,000 on the slide. God, if I was Donna, I wouldn't have even gone for that, you know. To use Charlie's bullshit story that didn't work as part of your own. I mean, what would be the alternative? It's not like she ever testified to that. But I guess in the jailhouse recordings of Charlie phoning Donna, she accepted it by not making an objection, even if it wasn't spoken about directly, which I think it was. I don't remember exactly, but yeah. So I guess she's kind of stuck with that.
Followed him to the gym, waited outside the gym for him, followed him to his house, pulled up in the driveway. Mr. Markel is talking on the telephone to someone, and he notices someone's coming into his driveway. And while he's talking on the phone and says something about needing to see who this is, he turns and looks in the direction, and this man, Sigfredo Garcia, is holding a revolver, and he points it at him. And you may hear testimony that there's some evidence that maybe he tried to, well, you know what you do in defense when somebody's going to hit you or whatever, you put your hands up.
You know what you do when you're about to be shot in the face when someone's pointing a loaded gun into your eye? You know what you do? You do this.
He saw this man pointing a gun similar to this at him. And in that instant, I cannot fathom how terrified he must have been.
God.
When this man...
Am I fucking nuts? Did I think this was good? Did I think that this was shaping up to mean that Donna was going to have a good defense? No. It couldn't have been. I would never... I cannot fathom the terror that must have gone through that brilliant professor mind. You know. Unbelievable. And this holding back tears thing she does all the time. It's this, you know, funeral parlor linguistic pattern or something.
And shot him. Not one time, but twice. One of the shots is almost right between the eyes. He was brutally murdered by this man. This man, Luis Rivera, who you've heard them mention in the State's opening, traveled with this car. This is an actual picture of the car, and the State's going to show it to you. This is the Prius that they were traveling in. This is surveillance photo that the investigators were able to find to know that it was a Prius that they were looking for. This man supplied the gun and drove the car following Danny, drove it up into the driveway less than 3 feet away from Mr. Markell, whose engine is still running, and he's on the phone, and he waits while this man kills him. He hears the shots. This guy, Mr. Garcia, runs back to the car where Mr. Rivera is in the driver's seat, and he's the getaway driver. Supplies the gun, knows what they're going there to do, kill him, and drive off. They drive off. The state can prove that about Sigfredo Garcia and Luis Rivera.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell that that it's amateur by the description of the car driving off, tires burning, screeching the driveway. Why? It was a street with no one on it. Okay, there's a gunshot, but gunshots are usually easily mistaken for something else, right? We see that a lot. We saw that in Gran Armado. The neighbor said he heard 3 pops, which could have been a gun or someone working on a house. I mean, there's really no call to drive away screeching tires unless you know someone is seeing you or chasing you, right? If you're worried someone's going to get your plate or pursue you, you're going to have to get away quick. If there's no one there, just back up slow. Drive off like you're a visitor, a normal visitor.
But they're not on trial here, right? You heard they've already been on trial. Then you're going to hear, as the state said, that they can prove that, everybody can see okay? They can prove that Katie Magbanawa, her name's Catherine, some people call her Katie, they can prove that she's the one who set it up. This is the father of Katie's children. This is his buddy that was recruited to go along on this trip to kill Danny. They can prove that she arranged these guys to do it, and that she's the one who paid them the money. The money that was in stacks, stapled, $100 bills, all $100, well, there may have been something other than $100 bills, but each stack was $1,000, stapled together. And you're going to hear testimony that that's exactly what he did with his money. He kept it and saved it for a long time. And you're probably going to hear testimony that this happens on July 18th, and on July the 19th,
This is another thing, saved it for a long time. I mean, what was said at Charlie's trial about that? He was like, oh, yeah, no, I love the feeling of money in my hand, the way it feels. I would always hold my money, and it was better than putting it in the bank because I could hold the money and feel it. So I saved up. The suggestion is, and I think there was more to embellish the argument that he was, that was being made, which was that he had saved this money since he was 8, like for 40 years. For a long time. He saved up that money and he put it in the safe for a long time. That's not true at all. I mean, never mind the money that was actually used to pay, because obviously that came from Donna, having been washed and bagged and stapled. But this notion that he's been holding on to this money, show me one piece. I mean, it's just going in and out, in and out. There's so much of it. You don't need to save up.
Adelson, Charlie Adelson, which is her son, gave approximately between $130,000 and $138,000 that he had in his safe that he collected and stapled together.
Hey, Chauncey Myers, how you doing? Chauncey says, if you haven't yet, exit out of the live chat real quick and hit that like button. That's a good idea. What does that mean, exit out? Is that like on a phone? One day I have to try watching something on my phone. I'm old school. I'm like Jackie Fulford. I don't have a PowerPoint. I don't know what Skype is. And I watch things on a computer where it's all on one page. You know, you got your live chat over there and your video there and your like button right there. Click that like.
His money went to her, not Miss Adelson. They can prove and have that he paid her to get them to kill Danny Markell. That's what they can prove. And they've done it 1, 2, 3, 4 times. This case is really a lot about theory and motive and not evidence.
Theory and motive and not evidence. Puts me in mind of this comment right here. Look at this. Oh, hang on. Look. We need to put this thing up. We need to put this thing up. Oh, it's not big enough. Ah, that's better. Just like that. Maybe we should make it a little bigger. Like that. Yeah. That's nice. Okay. Comment says, I thought your channel was a come lately. What does that mean? I have no idea what that means. A come lately. Like a late comer? Is that what it means? I was wrong. I thought your channel was a come lately. I was wrong. Currently, new sub and binge watching and hanging on every word. I wish your commentary could haunt the Adelsons forevermore. Hey, thanks, Fractured Fairy Tales. That's real sweet of you.
The state has a theory, and for the past 9 to 11 years, in fairness, probably 9 years, they have told the whole world that Mrs. Adelson was the reason that this happened. Mrs. Adelson was the reason that this happened. They've told this story, and it's outrageous. It gets people's attention. It's made a lot of money for the media, interviews, specials. Some people in jury selection said they had watched these specials. Lawyers on there, investigators on there. They made a lot of money for the media, and it got big attention because this is outrageous, what happened. It is truly outrageous. But what's more outrageous is, without any evidence, only motive and theory, they put her at the top of this pyramid. She's the matriarch. She's the matriarch mastermind behind Danny being killed. And they don't have evidence of that. That's what's outrageous. It's outrageous that he got killed, but it's also outrageous that we're sitting here with a jury, and you're going to hear a lot of theory, a lot of motive, and a lot of what they believe the evidence means. They don't get to decide that. The evidence is what the evidence is, and I ask you to patiently sit here and really pay attention to all of the evidence that you hear, every witness that they put on, every piece of evidence that they present to you, all of it. Don't, for 1 second, I'm not asking you to ignore any of that. Please listen to all of it closely. Look for what they actually have as evidence that Mrs. Adelson planned. She planned Danny Markell's murder. That she engaged these men to kill him. And that she gave the money to her son to give to Kate.
You know, Jackie should have made this opening statement no more than 10 minutes. And this thing about putting the fucking... look at... I mean, you can't really see much of it, but just look at that. All right? What is that? This little board she has on an easel. It's embarrassing. And she's doing this thing where she's trying to map out her version of events. But, you know, if you, in a defense argument like this, I think the best thing you can do is create a question, right? Create a feeling for the jury. Create a feeling for the jury that there's a side of this that they have not heard, that there's something coming, you know? Create an intrigue, a need to know what it is that you're alluding to, right? Make them have that hunger or thirst to want to hear something from you. But then you've got to know when and where you're going to put that thing later. That's the best advice I can say. You know, when you've got nothing, when all the evidence, you know what they say about the fucking standard thing, if the law is against you, then argue the facts. If the facts are against you, then argue the law. Fuck all that. You know, create a question. That's what Jose Baez did. Casey Anthony would wake up every day before school with her father's penis in her mouth. You know, that's a perfect example. That's a perfect example of the jury going, what the fuck? And needing to know how that happened and when and why. They should have done something like that. What she's doing here is trying to give them the case, give the case to the jury and say, no. It wasn't like that. It was like this. Which isn't believable. They've already shut down. They've already closed off. They're not going to be listening to you when it comes to examination and your case in chief. Create questions, create hunger, get them thinking there's a side to this that they have not heard, that you're going to tell them, and make them want that. That's all. 10 minutes. Done.
To pay them. You won't find evidence of that. The evidence about the $3,000 a month, I have that here on this board. $3,000 a month. Charlie Adelson gave $2,000 a month, and he instructed his mother, for reasons you're going to learn in the trial, out of his business account to put her on payroll. She worked for him and she paid that money. It's this man's money, not Donna Adelson's. At the end of listening to all of the evidence, we're going to have an opportunity to make closing arguments. And the judge is then going to give you, well, he's going to give it before, he's going to give you all of the instructions on what it is that you have to decide. Did the state charge and then prove that Mrs. Adelson committed a conspiracy? Not one of the elements, all of the elements, proven by evidence, not theory, not motive. For each count, then solicitation, all the elements. So while you're listening to the evidence, you don't know what those elements are, but think about what each thing it is that the state has alleged. She planned it. She got people to do it. She intended that he die. That this woman wanted to take away the father of her grandchildren for the rest of the...
Jackie, it's brilliant professor father, okay?
Their life because of relocation that happened a year ago and was done and over. And at the end of the case, because there's not going to be evidence that she did this, keep an open mind.
Saying it was done and over just creates, just draws attention to the fact that this was their only option. I mean, they couldn't go anywhere in the courts. The judge had denied with prejudice, which means that it cannot be litigated again. You know what I mean? This was done and over. The relocation didn't happen. And there was no way to make it happen apart from murdering him. Whoops.
Listen to all of it. We're going to ask you to find her not guilty of every single count. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fulford.
Well, that's it.
Mr. Zellman, if you could take down the easels at this time. Is the state
come on.
prepared?
Come on, easel. He's the easel weasel. Come on, easel boy. I mean, what is this? Fucking 1840? Look at him. That's the same easel that Andrew Jackson used to do that thing that he did.
Prepared to call its first witness.
Yes, Your Honor. The state calls James Geiger.
Well, are we gonna have a little bit of James Geiger? I don't know if we should, to be honest. What else have we got here? Oh, Isom. Should we have a bit of Isom? I don't know. What time are we? We're only 47 minutes in. We could... Yeah, well, let's go to closing argument because it's supposed to be a Jackie show, right? We've deciphered nothing from her opening statement at all. Well, she deciphered nothing. Right, what is this? Yeah, okay. I got it right here. Don't worry, group. Yeah, we'll skip into closing argument here. So after everything, after all the witnesses, after Labor Day weekend, testimony, after George's closing argument, we still haven't covered that. What I'd like to do with George's closing argument is maybe... Well, I shouldn't say. I keep sharing ideas before I do them, and then people steal them from me. Is that not the face of a man looking down at a jumbo family packet of Skittles that he has eaten in order of his favorite colors? The orange ones first, followed by the green, then the red, then the yellow, and all that's left is a bag of purple Skittles that nobody cares about. Isn't that the worst one? Hands up if you think purple Skittles are the worst one. Or if you love purple Skittles more than any other color, let us know in the comments. Personally, my order would be yellow, orange, red and green. It's difficult to choose. It depends what mood I'm in. Sometimes the red ones hit me just right. Sometimes the green. Sometimes it's... Okay, I'm going to commit. Yellow, orange, green, red, purple. That's me. He's just got this forlorn expression. Oh, only the purple ones left. And not many of those. 1, 2, 3, only 6. 6 purple Skittles. Let's watch Georgia first, says Debbie Gibby. Well, I mean, that's like 2 hours and a half. I mean, that really needs its own show. I know what you're saying, Debbie, but I do have a plan. I do have a plan for Georgia. Probably not going to be tomorrow because I've been working on something else that was almost ready today, but not quite. So should be ready for tomorrow. It's going to be nice. It's going to be good. Watch out for that on the notifications. I'll try and post it, early in the day. Actually, no, I can't post this one early in the day. I'm sorry. But we'll be on. We'll be on probably at 9. The reason I can't post it early in the day is because it's too top secret. It's the thumbnail I've already done. But the thumbnail, I just can't. It's 9 o'clock. You all know the time.
All right, jury entering the courtroom.
Beach Bum. Beach Bum says, and Harvey paid for that clown presentation, waste of dollars. You gotta think, huh? You gotta think. Not only did Harvey, approaching... The Adelsons put up what I estimate to be totaling in excess of $5 million for the cost of Charlie's defense, right? That was a big waste of money. Then Donna's arrested. Then Harvey says, no expense is too great. Whatever it takes, I'm going to pay. Get her the best defense money can buy. Ended up with Josh Zellman and Jackie Fulford. Unbelievable. And paid for it up front. Then she gets found guilty and sentenced to life in prison plus 30 plus 30. I think the 2 30s were concurrent, but collectively consecutive to the life. So life plus 30, I guess we'll call it. Then Georgia Kaplan says, yeah, Judge, about our costs, I want her to pay $723,000 to me at my office for all what we did here. I mean, just unpack that for a moment, huh? You've paid $5 million for your son. Might as well have thrown that in the furnace. You've paid whatever it was for Donna. Furnace. Then she and your son both, get sent to the concrete shitbox to live forever, sleeping next to a toilet with no seat. Then Georgia Kaplan says, you owe me $750,000. And if you don't pay it, you're going to jail. Fantastic. What a way for it all to end, Harvey. I mean, how long do you think he's got left? 81? I mean, I suppose he's reasonably healthy. You know, dentists don't usually smoke much. I don't know. I mean, he was a dentist in the 70s, so I think he may have smoked while, doing his dentistry. Dentist chairs in the 70s used to have ashtrays on the armrests, like they do in planes. You know?
Everyone can be seated. Members of the jury, I hope you enjoyed your lunch break. At this time, we are going to continue with the defense's closing. Defense, you may proceed.
Good afternoon. It's been a long day. You've heard a lot, but I hope you'll stay awake so you can hear me too, okay? So, it's been what, 2.5 weeks, I guess, since you started this venture with us, and you've heard an awful lot. And I'd like to take you back to my opening statement. In my opening statement, there were some things referred to today that I'd like to address. The first one is that I stood up in my opening statement and said all of these wonderful things about Dan Markell, and then I called witnesses to attack him. That is not true. That is not true. In fact, the defense is the only part of this case that actually elicited evidence through testimony about the good qualities of Dan Markell. We elicited that on cross from his ex-wife, Wendy. And all of the things I told you in opening about what a wonderful man he was, a wonderful father, well-educated, successful, we elicited that testimony. And criticized today for having 2 witnesses who came and testified on the stand about the dissolution case and things that had been filed in it. That was not to attack Danny Markell. We didn't put that evidence on. The state is the one that made it an issue. They put those documents into evidence, the things that Mr. Markell had filed. So we're the defense, and we represent Donna Adelson, and we're just supposed to say, okay, well, they've put it in, let's just let it sit there. We have an obligation to represent our client, and what happened in that divorce, whether it was contentious or not, was an issue the state brought up. They've been calling this a bitter custody battle for years. And they started this case by saying the same thing. So to have the people who were actually involved in the case point out that there never was a bitter custody battle is important, because there never was one. There was never a time when they were fighting over somebody having access to the children. In those pleadings, nobody says, you can't have them, I've got them. You can't have them, I've got them. When they filed their...
Okay, we just need to pause in the context of the video. We need to pause the video for a moment and go to this comment, because Chauncey Myers, savage that she is, says that she just dumps a handful of Skittles in her mouth all at once. I just dump some in my hand and eat all of the colors at once. Rainbow in my mouth. Terrible. Every time there's a bag of Skittles, I empty them all out onto the table, neatly arrange them by color, count to see if they're equal, and I am never impressed, because they're never equal. It's shocking. I don't know if that's a caste thing or what. It's a caste thing, and then eat them one by one, in order. But all of the yellow, all of the orange, all of the green, red, and then I just throw the purple ones away. I mean, what's the point? I actually don't do that. I've done that once.
Initial pleadings, they did what everybody, according to the lawyer who was on the case for Mrs. Adelson, meaning Wendy, on the case for Wendy, they all filed their typical pleadings. And in the beginning, you asked for certain stuff, and she asked for 5149, maybe for a tax purpose. But there was never one single time, and you can't be convinced that relocation was the issue where they were going to take Danny Markel's kids away from them. If you believe that, you are ignoring the evidence that the state of Florida put on against Donna Adelson.
I can't take it in. I don't know what she's saying. It's difficult. I was just looking at Donna in that blue cardigan and thinking, man, it's about... Okay, Jackie's closing argument is pretty long, but Donna is about, 2.5 hours away from... Mrs. Adelson, control yourself.
And when I told you in opening that this was all about theory and belief of what a motive was, and there was no evidence that a crime was committed by my client, Donna Adelson, that is exactly what has happened in this courtroom. The state is ignoring the evidence that came in through their witnesses that support our defense, and instead they stand before you with calls and text messages, and they tell you what they mean. That's not evidence. Their argument about what a conversation means is not evidence. You decide what it means. You've got it in front of you, and you have to consider it in the context of all of the evidence that's presented. Not just what the state puts in, but what the defense puts in. And I know at some point when we were putting on evidence, you all were looking probably at me like, what are you doing? Who cares? Some of those little things matter, and I'm going to cover those in the defense, and you'll see why we put those things in that didn't seem like that had a hoot to do with anything, because they actually did. Now, I think the state, near the beginning of the case, and I don't recall who the witness was, but near the beginning of the case, the state, through a law enforcement officer, elicited testimony about how this event transpired, this brutal killing of Danny Markel, how it transpired, and how they were able to break the case. And what did they tell you? They told you they broke the case because Luis Rivera, who was one of the killers, decided he would cooperate with the state of Florida in exchange for a deal, which for his crime, he ended up, the testimony was, he got 7 more years for committing that crime. This is the man who got in the car, got the gun off the street, drove up to Tallahassee, Florida, stalked, is the best way I can describe it, Danny Markel in a car with his children from his home, watched him take his little boys out of his car and put them into the daycare center, followed him again to where he went to work out at Premier Gym, and sat in wait for him. Sat in wait for him. And then when Mr. Markel came out, trying to work some things out with his ex-wife Wendy about having the kids and who's picking them up at what time, even leaves her a really nice voicemail that they could get together and walk at the school to talk about the education of their older child, where he was going to be going to school because he was going to be starting kindergarten. And Wendy pushed back. She pushed back. This was his time with his little
Pinto, how you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you, Pinto.
boys, and she's telling him no. I've got plans. Well, it wasn't her time to do that. So leading up to his death, she's arguing with him over about an hour and a half worth of time that she thinks she's entitled to with the kids, but it's his time. And I agree with the state of Florida. The most important thing to that man was those little boys. And he fought for every minute he could get, and rightfully so. Then he drives home in his car while he's on the phone, and Luis Rivera, driving the car that's been stalking him all day, pulls up behind him in his driveway. Sigfredo Garcia gets out and shoots him twice in the head, and they pull off at a pretty high rate of speed and leave Danny Markel dying inside his garage. Left him to die. Those are the people that killed Danny Markel. Those two people. And the state has all kinds of arguments about how Mrs. Adelson's involved because she said these things about him, and we'll get to that in a second. But if Luis Rivera is telling the truth, what did he tell you when he got on the stand? What did he tell you? He said, and this is his signature on this document dated March 11th, 2025, when he was deposed, and those numbers and circles are his. And he testified to you that, where are my numbers? That Catherine Magbanawa, that's right, Catherine Magbanawa is the person that elicited Sigfredo Garcia to kill Danny Markel. Now her versions change over time, so we'll have to address a few of those. And then she says she didn't even know Luis Rivera was involved. This is a woman who the state has admitted lied first time, second time, third time, fourth time, maybe the fifth time. Every time.
Hey, thanks so much, Mr. Pinto Peabody, for those 11 cups of coffee. That is very kind of you, Pinto. Pinto says, justice for Dan Markel, an arrest warrant for Wendy. That is poetry, huh? It flows. Justice for Dan Markel and arrest warrant for Wendy. I love it. If I had any tattoos, which I don't, I'd have that tattooed. But where? Not on the face. You ever see someone with a face tattoo and think, you know, what's your fucking problem? What's the matter with you? What the fuck? Especially when it's like some sort of Maori pattern, you know? Some fucking tribal fucking shit. Like, okay, what are you trying to tell me here? That you don't have anything interesting to say? Or what? That you're tough? Or especially when it's a cop as well. I get really annoyed with cops, which has become a thing, especially for cops, it would seem. Male and female. Not so much here in Portugal, but I've seen it a lot in the United States. I've seen it a lot in the United Kingdom. Is this thing that cops have with full fucking arm sleeves of tats, right? What is that? Why? They love their arms, don't they? Cops, because, you know, it's important to have good arms if you're a cop, I guess. So they want to show them off. It's like, and then some cops. I saw a body cam video the other day with a cop with a full sleeve, and it was all stuff that was like, you know, law and order stuff, the Constitution. It was like, "We the people" on his arm, and then there was a gavel and handcuffs and just this sort of little doodle mess on his arm, full sleeve, of stuff relating to law enforcement, justice, people's rights, and you know, it was just
fucking A, bro. I'm gonna fuck up where the fuck you fucking with me.
Kyle, thanks so much, Kyle, for the coffees on buymeacoffee.com/True Crime Metrix. Kyle says, good to hear you. Well, good to hear you too, Kyle. Thank you for the comment, and thank you for the coffees. We do appreciate it. Yeah, cops with tattoos, facial or full sleeves. Fuck off.
She puts herself under oath and swears to tell the truth. She's going to say more. She told you she didn't even know Luis Rivera was involved, but the phone records that were put in by the state of Florida prove otherwise. Because during the time that they're traveling to Tallahassee, when she can't reach Sigfredo Garcia, whose phone is she calling? She's calling Luis Rivera. This woman can't tell the truth. But in any event, Luis Rivera then puts this number 2 next to Sigfredo Garcia because he's the one who actually killed Danny Markel. Number 3 next to himself because he's the one who got the gun and drove the car to kill Danny Markel and then away from the scene. This is the man that he says they killed. Who else on this document do you recognize? On this exhibit? Who else? Who else was involved in this? Well, all the players that the state claims are involved are pictured on this document, and he says, Wendy Adelson, she's the lady who wanted to get her kids back. This is why we were committing the crime. Wendy Adelson. And Doctor, the dentist, he called him, which is Charlie Adelson, who he identified, was the one with Katie. This one and this one are the reasons that they're coming to Tallahassee to kill Dan Markell. And I said, well, what about Donna Adelson or Harvey Adelson? No, they weren't involved. I said, would you put an X next to them if they weren't involved? And he did. Donna Adelson's name never came up, but Luis Rivera is telling the truth, according to the state. That's who you're supposed to believe, and he says my client is not involved. There's some issues that I might...
And also thank you for the super chat, Mr. Pinto, Sally. Thanks, Sally.
...address further, but I want to go through some of the things that the state stood up and told you. Relocation, 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 that's the issue. That is the reason that my client had Danny Markell killed, because relocation was lost. Danny Markell was killed July the 18th of 2014. Relocation was done for over a year. That's the motive? It's been over for a year, and they said yesterday in court that the relocation issue didn't stop when Danny Markell was, when the divorce was over. It continued going on. The emails showed that. There is not a single email that's been put in by the state that shows that my client, Donna Adelson, was continuing on a rampage about relocation. The last email that they showed you today that my client wrote about relocation was July the 19th of 2013. The divorce was final on the 31st, said and done. They bring Wendy Adelson in here to testify. That's their witness. And she said it was done. Now, have Charlie Adelson and Wendy Adelson been honest with?
Okay, Angry Jackie. We're seeing Angry Jackie now. We had Sad Jackie in the opening, Angry Jackie in the close. And one thing I like to do with this, where we're looking at something like the court reporter is looking at it, right? Look at the court reporter. Doesn't understand what's going on, and we don't understand either. That's the point. That's what we're trying to work out on this video, yeah? And one thing I love to do when someone is doing a spiel and it just doesn't fit the situation is try and think what would the situation be where Jackie's style of delivering this rhetoric would fit. And I think it would fit in some sort of traffic accident, right? She's gotten out of her car, someone's blaming her. You ran a red light. You clipped my wing mirror. And she's like, what the fuck? You're drunk. Call a cop. That's what we're looking at here. We're looking at road traffic accident Jackie, but it's in a courtroom. Am I wrong? This is what people get like when they're being blamed. And they're saying, it wasn't my fault, it was your fault. That's where this fits.
Their mother, the evidence says no, they haven't been. Because the whole time Wendy Adelson is telling her mother, she's telling her mother that relocation is what she wants. She's the one who starts that. She's the one who asks her lawyer about it. The whole time in the spring leading up to this hearing, Wendy Adelson admitted in her testimony she's sending these messages to her life coach and telling her life coach, I think I want to stay in Tallahassee. But she didn't bother to tell her mother that.
Oh, I'd pay good money to interview Wendy Adelson's life coach. Does anyone know who that is? Can we get in touch? Can we bring her on the show? Why am I assuming that it's a woman? I'd bet good money that it's a woman, right? Would it be a woman? All right, we need to do a poll. Would Wendy Adelson's life coach be a man or a woman or something else? A beagle. I have to go and talk to my beagle now.
Her mother still thinks she's trying to get relocation. She does it in April. And then she writes to her again in May. I think I'm going to give up relocation. I can stay in Tallahassee. The kids will be close to their boys. There won't be any plane rides. And I like my job. It gives me all this flexibility. I'm going to stay. But she still doesn't tell her mother. She has her mother believing we got to fight for this relocation. She testified. Well, why did your mother get so upset? Well, she's venting to her mother about what she claims Danny Markell is doing, and she's venting to her mother about what she wants to accomplish, only she's not being honest with her. On the backside, she's making other plans. It'd have been nice for my client, Donna Adelson, to know that, because these emails that have been submitted here, which are proof that she wanted to have Danny Markell killed, would not have been written. And when she goes to her hearing on the relocation in June of 2013, she has her mother stay outside. Her mother can't hear what's going on in the hearing. She admitted she had several witnesses to call beyond the two that got on the stand. And then after the judge made the comment, she gave up. She could have continued with the hearing and put her witnesses on. The judge could have ruled against her, and then maybe she has an appellate issue. She gave up because she didn't want it anymore, but she didn't tell her mother that. When she told her mother, well, this is how the judges ruled, the mother understood that through the court system it was done, but not with her daughter, Wendy. Because you can continue to negotiate all the way through a final judgment. And that's what those emails say. They do suggest some crazy stuff. They do. But she puts in there, we're trying to negotiate. We're trying to negotiate. Get this, you can still work on this. She doesn't know when she's writing those crazy emails that there's no reason to write them because her daughter agreed. You know, you can have a dismissal on an issue. You can have a denial on an issue. She agreed to it with prejudice, which means it is over. She already made an agreement. She's not going to seek relocation anymore. So
Hey, David Anderson Kirk, how you doing? Okay, we are still building a goal for the Metrix jet so we can bring you all to the Wendy Got Busted party that Dave's having at his house in Oakland, California. Dig deep, friends, dig deep. Get your tickets now. Reach our goal at the top of the chat.
my client is hanging out there trying to support her daughter, and now she's sitting in a court of law charged with murder because of what she wrote in emails. Because the truth is, you are here to judge my client based on her conduct leading up to and to the time of death of Danny Markell. That's her conduct. Can you consider things she said and did after to see if it corroborates that she was involved? You can. But her conduct leading up to the day that Danny was murdered is in this book that the state has entered with emails. It's separated between, where you can see it, where they lead up to the divorce and then after the divorce until the time of the homicide. Now, my client did say ugly things about Danny Markell. During the divorce, she did. And the state has put them in. This is State's Exhibit 64. And they have emails going up through July the 11th of 2014. These are the bad names that my client called Danny Markell. During the course of a divorce where her daughter...
Okay, this is always great. Is Elvis on there? I think it is, I forget. Let's zoom in. Royal couple, that's the Mr. Markell's parents. God, this is so small. There we go, that's better for me. Major fucker. I like that one. I want people to start calling me that. I'm changing the name of the channel. True Crime Major Fucker. Number 3, Jibbers, a family favorite. 4 religious zealot, 5 royal jackass, 6 piece of shit. It's a classic. Come on, it's a classic. 7 fucker. Hey Donna, how is this sitting with the character you've tried to create? The sort of dark brown in old lady clothes, in the well, not on the witness chair, but at the defense table. Dark brown in old lady clothes. Can I do a, yeah, okay, number 8, crazy. Well, that's, that's not really a name. Bastard and Elvis. Thank God Elvis is in there. What is that about? People have said to me it's because Elvis just left the building, or it's because he's the king and Danny thought he was like the king, but both of those kind of make sense, but they both feel like a reach, right? Like we're trying to make it fit. That's not normal. If there's someone you don't like, look, everybody in chat, if there's someone you don't like at your job, or, perhaps, some family member, or an in-law, that's the thing, isn't it? In-laws. Think of an in-law that you don't like, that's a little bit superior, or that you find superior. Would you call them Elvis because they think they're, above it? Because Elvis was the king? I mean, it just doesn't really... We've tried to find a way to make it fit, and we have, but in terms of how that goes into real life scenario, I don't think so. I don't think so at all. So what is it?
Daughter is constantly venting to her about what she says Danny is doing. She said some really bad names, and I'm going to say them, although you shouldn't say bad words in court. She called him some ugly stuff. The first one that they wanted to put in was from 2011. He was killed in 2014. They introduced this email from March the 28th of 2011 at 64A, and inside that email, they claim, shows the hatred for Danny Markel. And you want to know why? According to their exhibit list here, because Mrs. Adelson referred to Danny's parents as, quote, the royal couple. And she and Wendy were bantering back and forth about some issues with Mr. Markel's parents. That's not hatred on Danny. It's not even hatred on his parents. We're sitting here with murder charges because she did something like that, called somebody a royal couple. She said other bad things. She called Danny a major fucker, Gibbers, which Wendy Adelson testified that she came up with that nickname for him, a religious zealot, and Wendy testified that the issues in their marriage included matters of he had now become more strict in their religion than she wanted to follow. That was one of their problems. She called him a royal jackass, a piece of shit, a fucker, crazy, a bastard, and she called him Elvis. That's why we are sitting here today. That is hatred for somebody. That proves they wanted to have him killed. Are you serious? You call somebody some bad names and that means you wanted them dead? My client has lack of any ability to stop herself from saying things. She can't do it. And I'm not trying to be offensive to her, but she can't. And all of these emails that they have introduced prove it. She is not a one-word person. She goes on and on and on and on. And they believe that she had Danny Markel murdered because she said some bad words. There's not a lick of evidence in here that they submitted of what she did prior to July the 18th, 2014, where she said not a single word, that she wanted him killed, she was planning to have him killed, she was going to find somebody to kill him, she was going to pay somebody to kill him, she was going to kill him, that she was glad he was dead. That's not in here. And this is it. This is it. before he was killed. You're judging her conduct before he died, up to his death. And that's all you've got. And I told you that in the opening statement. They have a lot of theories, and they like to spin evidence a certain way to make her look bad because she said ugly things. That is not proof of somebody having somebody killed. And that's it.
That's it? Okay. Can we bring up the wiretap file, please? She called him a fucker. Imagine if Georgia Kaufman got up there and said, listen, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, she called him a bastard. Okay? She called her ex-son-in-law, who was divorcing her daughter, a bastard. And Elvis. So, you know, it is circumstantial, but I think we've proved our case. I don't need to say anything else. There's more to it, Jackie. The jury know that. I cannot believe that we've got this thing where even after the trial has concluded, we still can't see the fucking jury. How funny would that be? Has that ever happened? I seem to feel like that we saw the jury in Jodi's trial, in Jodi Arias' trial. There was a bunch. Didn't she have like 20 jurors or something?
Besides the relocation issue, which has been dead for over a year before he's killed, bad choice of words, I apologize. It had ended over a year before he was killed. Now they want to bring in something called the grandmother motion. This is what had to push her over the edge. Their own witnesses said she didn't know about it. Let's see who testified to that. Wendy testified, her daughter, that she never showed it to her and she never talked to her about it. But then there were two more witnesses for the state, and they were Craig Isom and Jason Newland. And when they testified on cross, they admitted that there was no evidence that that motion had ever been forwarded to my client. Not a single piece of evidence.
Okay, so the poll, how are we doing on the poll? 59% think that Wendy's life coach was a man. So I guess the next question should be, did she invite him to one of her arrangements, tete-a-tetes with Daniel Sack?
What if she had gotten it? Do you want to know what it accuses her of? That a 3- and 4-year-old said that they called Abba, that she had called Abba stupid. Stupid. And that drove her over the edge? One, she didn't know about it, but two, somebody claiming you said the word stupid, that's what brings us to murder charges? It's unbelievable. But that's their spin that they want to put on it, because they've got this theory that she's the mastermind. And then they stand up here in their closing and they say, everybody who's been charged in this case, so they want to point at the other one, point at the other one, and point at the other one. No, 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 no. Who is pointing at these people? The state of Florida. The state of Florida is doing the pointing. They're the ones getting the warrants. They're the ones doing the investigation. They're the ones charging people, deciding who they're going to give deals to and not. That's them pointing the finger. That's not my client. There's no evidence of that. They bring the charges, they prosecute, they get the convictions, they get people sent off to prison. Not us. What, we're pointing the blame at the killers for killing them? They prove.
So Sally was born and raised in Oakland, California. That explains a lot, Sally. Do you know the fantastic Negrito? I was watching him today in that parking lot with his guitar. It's pretty good.
Proved that those are the people who killed them. That's not us pointing the finger. They actually did it, and it's been proven. And we're distancing ourselves from Charlie Adelson. Let me tell you something. They elicited the testimony about Charlie Adelson over our objection, if you happen to remember that. It came in. Charlie Adelson is not on trial. You may be...
Yeah, he was. Charlie Adelson is not on trial. This isn't Charlie's trial. He had his trial. It was very similar. It's practically the same evidence as this. And he got found guilty and sent to prison forever. By doing this crime with his mother, who's here.
Sitting in that jury room thinking, well, Charlie did it, and it sure looks like Wendy did it. That doesn't have an ounce to do with Donna Adelson doing a thing. Not a single thing. If you think he did it, he's been convicted. He admitted in his testimony that he is the person, although he claims he was extorted, he is the person that took $138,000 out of his refrigerator-sized safe that he has at his house with the money exactly like he says he kept.
It was bigger than a refrigerator. He had a refrigerator inside the safe. So that when he was stapling his money, and wanted a cold one, a Bud Light, reach down and grab a Bud Light. Probably inside the safe he had one of those bottle openers that you can have on the wall, so you can just lean over and just... I know you have twisties in the States, don't you? Try doing that in Europe. You'll cut your hand open. I remember trying that, way back, probably in my early teens. Trying to open a bottle of beer in England by twisting the bottle cap. Fucking laceration 3 inches long. There are dangers.
It, stapling $100 bills together in stacks of 1,000.
Okay, if anybody in chat opens bottles with their teeth, I want to know what's wrong with you. You all remember Rocky Rambo Waynam Cam up in Vancouver, right?
I have nothing to say. I won't play video games. I won't play video games. I have nothing to say.
Rocky Rambo Waynam Cam, that's how he got caught, right? They had nothing. All they had was the stuff he left on the lawn. Yeah? The baseball cap, the axe, the bloody axe. That was their first clue. And it was so funny because they took the axe. I'm sorry, hatchet. It was a hatchet. They took the hatchet to Canadian Tire, and they said, "Do you sell this hatchet?" They said, "Yeah, we sell that hatchet. We got them right there." They said, "How many have you sold in the last month?" And they said, "Let's check the records. We've actually sold only one in the last month. Here's the date, time, and the card that the person paid with." The cop said, "Do you have video of that date and time?" And they said, "Yeah, we'll pull it right up." And then there was the video of the only hatchet of that type that they'd sold in the Canadian Tire closest to the murder, right? And it's funny because he also bought that baseball cap in Canadian Tire. It was, just a standard hat, gloves. And they, they pulled it up. They looked at it. There was this Cantonese kid on the video, and they said, "Who is that?" They said, "We don't know." Actually, I don't think they had the card because they didn't know his name. So he paid cash, but they had a visual. So they set up a box or a grid or whatever you want to call it, around and just put cops around looking, seeing if this guy would show up or walk around. And he didn't walk around that much. You know why? Video games. He loved the video games. He was playing them all day, and he stayed inside. You know, a bit of a loner, bit of a video game, quiet guy, murderer guy, but quiet. He went out to kill these two people that he didn't know. And why were we talking about that? I completely forget why we're talking about that. Rocky Rambo, Wayne Cam. I have no idea. Okay, we'll come back to it.
Thousand, staple. He said he took that money.
Oh my God, the two says, in Canada we call Canadian Tire crappy tire. True story. I think it's the best place in the world. It's fantastic. You can buy everything in there. It's great.
Out of his safe, and he gave it to Catherine Magbanowa that night. Whether that's his girlfriend and they're still fooling around on the side, that's between the two of them. That's got nothing to do with my client. He did it, but now they want to say Donna Adelson did it. Pick one. You don't like our theory? That's what they say. You don't like our theory? Oh, well, you like our theory on everybody else. Pick one. If you have prosecuted Charlie Adelson for paying the $138,000 staple, just like their other witnesses in this case said, why are they now saying Donna Adelson provided the money? Oh, wait. Oh, because Catherine Magbanowa, who's been sentenced to life and is telling her sixth story now, has decided she'd like to see her kid someday. So now she's going to come in and provide information that will help the state prosecute an innocent woman so she can go home to her children. That's what that's about. So she claims that this all goes down. Charlie puts the money, Charlie, not Donna, Charlie puts the money stapled just like she knows he does into her trunk. She drives it the next day to Sigfredo Garcia, her baby daddy. He takes it out of the trunk, and a day or two later, she gets hers back. And she says he puts it in her closet, and to this day, she wants you to believe that that money sat in her closet and she spent it along the way. The records that Miss Hull testified to, showing all her cash deposits, she clearly was doing something with it, right? But to this day, she wants you to believe she has absolutely no idea how much money she had. Never counted it. Really? She must have think y'all was born yesterday. But here's something. She's got this new thing she wants to testify to. That the money was wet, and Charlie told her that Donna had washed it. Her money's wet.
What the fuck is she doing now? The money was wet, and Charlie told her that Donna had washed it. She's doing this kind of like, oh yeah, sure thing. Oh yeah, no, that really happened. Yeah, no. Yeah, no, yeah, sure. Charlie told her that the money was wet. Yeah, you believe that? You believe that, you fucking hicks?
Wet, that she hasn't touched, that's been somewhere else for these number of days? Well, what did Luis Rivera testify to about his money that he got? He said it was weird. Well, how was it weird? Well, it was stapled in $100 bills, stacks of 1,000. Not a single word about wet, and he got his money before she did. He got it straight from Sigfredo. This washing money wet thing is nonsense, and they've already proven that it was Charlie Adelson's money that was paid through Katie Magbanowa to those two killers. Whoops, it's gone.
Lady, there's a fucking wiretap where Katie is on the phone with Sigfredo saying it's wet. And Sigfredo is saying to Katie to go and blow dry the money. Oh, there's something funny about that. There's something funny about Katie Magbanowa sitting in her house with a, 30 grand in cash and a hairdryer you know. Why not just put it out on the lawn on a hot day?
But now it's her fault. And I'm not sure what this is all about. The state standing up saying that the defense has suggested that Harvey is the one that did the Evite. We haven't said a single word, presented any evidence, or made any argument that Harvey Adelson is the one who created the Evite. Their witness that they called, Wendy Adelson, sat up there and said, what did she say? She probably did it because her mom doesn't know how. And then their other witness, Chris Corbett, Sergeant Corbett, who does all the media and cell phone tower stuff, he sat up there and he said it was clear to him from his research and investigation that my client, Donna Adelson, didn't have a clue how to work that. But she's responsible.
David's got it right. We should thank Jackie for helping convict Donna, to be honest. Absolutely. I mean, same with Rashba. I mean, you know, just unbelievable. I genuinely think that Donna should have hired Christopher DeCoste, right? Just leave Tara Kawas at home, forget that. But yeah, I mean, Chris DeCoste is the best defense lawyer in all of the trials, by far, right? I mean, a million miles ahead of Rashbaum, Jackie, Josh, Tara, Sam, Hand Grenade, Mr. Hand Grenade. A million miles. I'm not saying he was perfect. I'm saying in closing, it was good. Wendy Cross, good. Lewis Cross, good. Shadrach Noble's Cross, amazing, right? Understanding your reluctance to get into the next topic, the cocaine.
For sending out an Evite that...
Shadrach Nobles is like, oh, man. We need a bit of Shadrach, huh? We need a bit of Shadrach. Should we sack off Jackie Fulford and just go full Shadrach Nobles?
He says she did, where the names come up with guests who are going to be there that are Wendy Adelson, because she kept that name, and her two sons. So it's Wendy, the name of her two sons, and then Adelson at the end. If that's how it appears, Wendy did it, not my client. And there's more proof of that real quick to come. But the Evite thing is a non-issue. I just can't imagine what that is about. The state has argued that between the time the killers came to Tallahassee in June and the time that they came back in July and actually killed Danny Markell, that Catherine McBanawa said in her testimony that between those two time periods, when she was discussing scenarios with Charlie, he would say he had a call from his mother, step out, have the call, come back in and say, oh, they're stressed, they're stressed. Catherine McBanawa, not one single time testified to when that occurred, number one. Number two, if you've heard evidence in this case and paid attention, Charlie Adelson is not a one-woman man. He's got lots of girls. She doesn't know if that was really the mother on the phone. She doesn't know who he was talking to or what they were talking about. But she wants to get out of prison. So she's got information she's willing to share now. Charlie's business. There is a slide that the state had in its presentation this morning that they showed to you that shows that Charlie Adelson owned the dental practice up until 2015. Do you remember seeing that slide? Well, here they are again, ignoring the real evidence. They got a theory and they got to spin it some way, but the evidence from their expert witness, Mary Hall, financial investigator, forensic investigator, Mary Hall, she's up here testifying for them, and she says that Charlie Adelson was the owner of the Adelson Institute until 2020. And yet their slide says, oh, he sold it back to his father in 2015. That's not what the evidence is from their own witness. There was some argument from the state about some things that were in Mrs. Adelson's planner in 2023 around the time that Charlie Adelson was convicted, and they apparently were going to flee the country, take flight to a non-extradition country. And
Yeah. That's how to do your closing argument, Jackie. Just put all the incriminating evidence in quotes. She was going to flee the country, whatever that means.
there's a notation in there shortly after Charlie is convicted that says cancel disability insurance. They want you to take what they believe that means as they were canceling their insurance because they were going away and never coming back. Could it be? Those were the words that were used. This is not a could it be situation. This is beyond a reasonable doubt. They have nothing other than that notation. Well, could it be that Charlie was convicted and he no longer needed disability insurance because he was going to prison for life? Just as likely. How about this could it be? Could it be in State's Exhibit 142 on the front page that they showed you with this little notation, notify everyone who was invited to the 70th birthday that party is off if that's what HJ decides to do. And that's on June the 13th. Could it be, the state says,
could it be blah, blah, blah. Beach Bum has a good point, but even if she had a decent representation, she'd still be doing LWAP plus 30. Raises an interesting question, right? How could she have possibly gotten out of that? You know, without a downward departure of 90%, obviously you've got to take the mandatory life, no parole off the table. So you've got to get that first degree murder charge off the table. Let's just put that to one side and think this through. Then you've got to get the two lesser charges. I don't know if it's the right terminology to call them lessers, because lessers are usually what you call the options, right? Like if you go to the jury and say, we're charging them with first degree murder, but if you don't think she was guilty of first degree murder, you could have second degree murder as an option or manslaughter as an option, and those would be lesser offenses. But when they're additional, is it still okay to call them lessers? I don't know. The other charges, let's say that. So you got your conspiracy to commit and you've got your solicitation to commit. You've got to bunch those together if you can't take them off the table completely. Make sure that they're concurrent to one another, and then get a downward departure of 90% to 3 years. From 30 to 3 concurrent. That's just not going to happen, is it? I mean, that's just too much. So the only thing to do would be to get the jury to come back not guilty on all charges, right? What could have possibly happened? And who could have done it? What would Jose Baez tell us? He would start his opening statement with Donna Adelson would wake up each morning before going to the dental practice with Charlie's penis in her mouth. And they'd be thinking, oh my God, her own son? Not guilty. That's literally all you could do.
To you, that if the killing had actually taken place the first time the killers came up, then they'd be canceling the party.
I guess the true answer to this question, there's only one. If Donna's legal team had approached the prosecution and said, listen, I know you don't anticipate us making a deal, so you're not going to offer one yourself. But we want to make it known to you that if you were to consider a deal, and if our client would accept to talk with you about said detail, and if she were able to give up Wendy and agree to testify against her own daughter at trial, would you give her a sentence of time served, or time served plus 3 more years? You know, 3 years on top of this would mean Donna would be 78 years old when she gets out. When you've got a diet of spaghetti and potatoes at that age, and your mattress is shit, and the stress of being in prison, the boredom of being in prison, the lack of first-grade medical care that surely the Adelsons enjoy, that could quite possibly be a life sentence in itself. If she came to the prosecution with that, I think they'd have probably gone for it. Because a testimony from an Adelson about Wendy's involvement would be huge. There's no way that Georgia Kappelman would disregard that and say no dice. She might negotiate and push for some more time, but she'd want to hear what she would have to say. That is literally the only way that Donna was getting out of this. And she blew it. I always used to think, obviously it's, before trial happened, and when, way back, the very beginning of the year, when everybody was still talking about pre-trial motions and case, what do you call it? Status updates. Sorry. Everyone was saying, there's no way that Donna would give up Wendy. When we were kind of waiting to see if there would be a deal that was at least discussed, right? Everyone was saying, there's no way she'd give up Wendy. But I always thought, if Georgia could find a way to get through to Donna that her daughter fucking hates her, set her up, had her carry this out with the express intention of Donna going down for it eventually, because that would be the best way to mask her own involvement and give her the opportunity to punish her mother for the years of meddling and, Wendy didn't like Tallahassee. Who did she blame for being stuck in Tallahassee? Well, she blamed Dan Markel. No. If you go down the chain, Wendy was only with Dan Markel because of Donna going through J-Date. Remember the stuff that she was sending Wendy before she came to Miami? Back down to Miami after the murder? She was like, I saw this guy. He's an oncologist. He's an ornithologist. He loves owls. He's got 6 kestrels, 2 hawks, and a falcon. You know those big leather gloves that falconers wear? He's got a whole bunch, a collection. Vintage falconer, there's a name for them, isn't there? Big falconer gloves. You know, she blamed Donna for getting her with Dan. And Dan got her stuck in Tallahassee, but the buck stops with Donna. Major resentment. Wendy's happy about this result. Does not miss her mother, does not regret one thing about this because it was always there, always part of the plan. You know, if Georgia could have made Donna see that, I always thought that there was potential to get her to flip. I guess now we'll never know.
Because Danny would already be dead. What? Where is the proof of any of this? Could that be what it means? This is not, could it be? And a birthday present. The birthday present, according to the state, for a 70-year-old man is that they're going to have Danny Markel killed. Happy birthday. Let's have a party. What? There's no birthday present, according to Rob Adelson. Wendy Adelson, who was at the party and who was involved, and there are emails that tell this, involved in helping get a caterer for the party where the man came and cooked paella out on the balcony for everybody, but that's what Charlie decided to give. But you got to read the worst in every single piece of evidence that they present to you. You have to, because that's the only way you can convict, and they want you to convict her. There's no evidence that there was a birthday present to Harvey Adelson to have this man killed. None. But that's their theory, and they're still spinning it. And you gotta ignore the witnesses that they put up there in order to follow their lead into that jury room and convict my client. Let's talk about Rob Adelson. They brought him in here and he got up there and he testified on the stand about allegedly all of these things that he claims his mother said. If you were paying attention by the time we got to cross-examination, what did we learn about Rob Adelson? Well, he's a doctor and he's got little kids, so he's real busy, which is his explanation for why he rarely speaks to his family on the telephone and has, in that time period, only been down to see his family 2 times in a 2.5-year period. And he rarely talks to them on the phone, but somehow Miss Adelson has made all of these comments. This is a guy with an axe to grind, right? He doesn't have any of this information. He's not talking to them. They got him to come for the birthday party, and what was his testimony? He's a busy guy. He flew in the night before the birthday. He was at the birthday party and got up the next morning, packed his bags, and put him and his wife and his kids on an airplane and left because he was busy. He's not hanging out with his family. He's nowhere to be found. Oh, but you got to believe everything he tells you. A huge percentage of the argument of the state was, well, what did Rob say? What did Rob? Rob doesn't have the knowledge of anybody. He's not here. He lives in Albany, New York, and he's not around these people.
But he had one of the best testimonies of the whole show, right? I mean, that was brilliant. We got to go back to Rob sometime. Has he been around? Has he been doing any interviews or making comments? I mean, it was fantastic to hear from Rob after all these years, right? Great.
Let's use her son, who's clearly estranged from the family, to try and bury her. You're smarter than that.
Ah, David Anderson. Chandler, she's worse than Chandler Halderson's public defender. We got to go back to that, man. I got a great show lined up for that with the affidavit, the arrest affidavit, the probable cause affidavit. I forget what the terminology is, but it's going to be shit hot.
So my client has been charged with the murder of Mr. Markel, conspiracy, the planning to commit murder, and solicitation, hiring the hitman that killed. We're going to go through the jury instructions briefly. The judge has already gone through them, but we're going to go through in a minute what actually is there that the state has to prove. And just like I said in opening, what the state thinks happened does not matter. What they believe happened does not matter. What spin they want to put on it does not matter. You can only make your decision based on the evidence presented to you, and up through the time that Dan Markel was killed, that's all they got. She said some ugly things, and she meddles in her children's lives. Meddles in their lives. Gets involved in their divorce. She's a parent. She's just being a parent, not a killer. She's a meddler, not a murderer. They haven't proven that to you. Just like I told you in opening, what they were going to be able to prove, and that what you were going to hear a lot of evidence about, lots of introduction of exhibits was going to come in. They proved that those two men killed Danny Markel, that Catherine McBonowa was the one who found the killers, that Charlie Adelson is the one that paid the money. That's it. And Wendy Adelson is the one who wants to get her kids back. That's why they're killing him. Nothing about Donna Adelson. We sat here for days listening to testimony of witness after witness getting on this stand. Not a single one of them connected my client to Danny Markel's murder. Not one. I think the state introduced a couple of exhibits. They would be 64C and F. Sorry, I can't do technology. Somebody has to help me.
Yeah, I don't know what Skype is.
And these are emails where she...
What is Skip? PowerPoint? Where's Zellman? Zellman, get my easel.
She's giving her daughter advice on what she should do, prepare...
Oh, I love reading this. I love reading these. Let's have a look at this. Things to discuss. Things to discuss at mediation to make sure you have in writing for settlement. 1. Ask for your husband to pay all or at least one half of the children's education after age 18. This must be in the divorce decree. Also, ask for half of all payment towards their bar mitzvahs and weddings. 2. Make sure he is paying at least one half of all extracurricular activities for the boys. Music lessons, tennis lessons, baseball team activities, travel and other expenses associated with these activities. 3. Health insurance. Make sure he provides coverage as well as paying at least one half of co-pays and deductibles that are not covered by health insurance. 4. No more talking to Danny unless it's through the lawyers. They will talk business if he still comes to visit you at your office. Not only should you absolutely go for a restraining order against him, but notify the university of the harassment that's going on. They won't like that. They won't like one of their professors doing that to another professor. 5. Go for full custody with relocation. Negotiate it along with living in South Florida. I'm sure your lawyer is smart enough to step out of the box and be a creative negotiator. She's pretty creative herself with the formatting today, isn't it? Look, we've got a title in bold, italic, underlined. We've got little quotes, quotation marks, speech marks, which are incorrectly used. It should be single quotes. You know, people don't get that, do they? If you say something like, they will talk business, that's single quotes should be used there. If it's double quotes, that's indicating that someone has said that. Am I wrong? First, see how much alimony you are getting. That depends on how much you earn and how long you've been married. Then you tell him that you have opportunities elsewhere and you want to move and take the children. Make a reasonable financial concession to accomplish this, whether it be paying for his airline ticket up to a certain amount, once a month for him to visit with the boys, I suppose.
Preparing for mediation. Oh, how terrible of her. But what they didn't want you to see in this email, you see that highlighted part? If she thinks she's going to have him killed, why is she telling her daughter in mediation, make sure in the final order that he has to pay half of this expense and half of that expense and extracurricular activities and tennis lesson and baseball teams and travel? Well, who cares if they're going to kill him? Why is she writing that? Negotiate. Negotiate. Shame on her getting involved in her daughter's divorce. Negotiate. Let him know that you want him to see his children. And they talk a lot about this bribe. Bribe. This man, they were considering giving him $1 million to relocate because he had already lived in Miami with Wendy. Relocate back to Miami. He taught, according to Wendy, 2 days a week. He could commute by airplane. They were willing to pay for plane tickets, give him money to buy a house, expose his children to a more strict Jewish environment where they had Jewish schools and all kinds of activities and be around more kids, kosher like Danny. Relocation was never about taking those kids away from him. It was
7, negotiate. I just find her writings incredible. Let him know that you want him to see his children. How can we accomplish this? Give up some of your alimony and or pay all or part of his flights to visit the kids. How can we accomplish this? Compensate him in some way. Explain to him that you want the boys and him to have a relationship. You do not have to be a prisoner in Tallahassee to accomplish this. She's saying accomplish this too many times. I hate it when that happens. You know? It tells me that she either doesn't proofread this or doesn't know what the fuck she's doing. Let him know that just because you've grown apart, it doesn't mean that he will ever change the relationship, that it will ever change. It doesn't mean that will ever change the relationship with his children. You know that he has Laser's apartment to use when he comes down, so no cost to him to stay there. And so, well, don't you think we should ask Laser about that before we push forward and get this in the court docket? Laser's like, hey, what the fuck? I said you could use my apartment once, you know, and I didn't even expect you to, you know, I was being polite. Now Dan's like moving in. Yeah, I'm going to be there like full time. Yeah, no, Laser, listen, let me know if you want to use your own apartment and I'll see what I can do. You know, I'm visiting the boys every week. No, I'm going to be there until Monday. You know, I'm going to be there until Monday or Tuesday, but definitely no later than Thursday. So, and since he loves South Florida, he may be willing to take a position at one of the many law schools here, even without tenure. That would buy him time to see his children frequently while he decides where he can get another position, either here or in another state. Whether he lived in Tallahassee or elsewhere, he could take a short flight and come to South Florida easily on a direct flight for 2 to 3 days per week. Oh my God. Or every other week if he wanted to. Because his work schedule is only 2 days per week, it's not like he doesn't have the time to fly here to see and spend time with the boys. It's not expensive to buy a plane ticket and stay at his uncle's apartment. Oh, it's his uncle. To visit with them. If you're making more money than he'd have less alimony to pay. Fucking unbelievable, isn't it? I have never, my mother doesn't meddle in any of my affairs at all. Thank God. Imagine if she did this. Oh, I'd speak to her even less than I do now.
How can we make it happen? You can live in the same city, we can co-parent separately, but be together, be around each other, and all have family support. Shame on them for wanting to help him like that. They act like they were doing something illegal. That's not illegal. You heard the woman testify. It happens a lot in divorces. People offer money to get certain things that they want, or they concede something they're entitled to. But if Mrs. Adelson does it, she must be up to no good. This grandmother motion, I want to point out something to you for just a second. That would be 60JJ.
I want to get our eyes open.
JJ.
That's the face of someone who knows it's not going well. Can we get Ben Franklin up here? Thank you. Sorry. Oh, no. Where's Ben? There we go. Should we just keep him up? We'll keep him up. It'd be great if Donna was wearing bifocals. She's not.
The state calls this the grandmother motion because they're prosecuting grandma. Sounds kind of cool, right? There's this terrible motion, this grandmother motion that was filed against my client, Mrs. Adelson. This pleading is actually entitled, let's see here, Former Husband's Counter Motion for Enforcement of MSA, which is Marriage Settlement Agreement, on Parenting Issues, and Motion for Contempt and Sanctions. And this pleading goes on and on about, he says Wendy's refusing to facilitate video teleconferencing with the 3 and 4-year-old, that she's failing to regularly facilitate telephone contact with the children, that she routinely violates the right of first refusal, resulting in the children missing days from preschool, that she violates her duty to inform that's in the MSA. She fails to follow clinical recommendations. She violates by refusing to communicate with Mr. Markell. She persists in inhibitory parental gatekeeping. Refused to provide access to have both children on one of the child's birthdays. The only single complaint he makes about my client is she called him stupid, according to a 3 and 4-year-old. And Sure, I can do this, but I'll try. Number 6. This is the section. You can write a motion and put all your complaints in it, your legal argument, and then you ask for what is the relief that you want. He wants all kind of relief related to Wendy. And this is what they say. The state says that he's saying that the grandmother cannot have any unsupervised contact with the children. That's not what it says at all. It says consistent with the right of first refusal. And safeguard the children so she doesn't call him stupid anymore. This does not mean she can't have unsupervised contact. It means consistent with the right of first refusal. If grandma's in town and she's going to watch the children, according to their marriage settlement agreement, he has to be given the opportunity first if he wants to take care of the kids. That's what was agreed to in the divorce. That doesn't say no more unsupervised contact with grandma. Now, besides her not knowing about it, what is the evidence? I don't want to mess this up. What is the evidence that supports two things? One, that my client did not know it had been filed, and two, that Danny Markell was not trying to keep my client from having unsupervised contact with him. Well, the proof is, from Wendy's testimony, that he continued himself because during the course of the marriage and separation and divorce, my client, Mrs. Adelson, didn't just continue to assist Wendy when Wendy needed help with the kids. She continued to assist Danny. And in fact, that motion was filed on March the 26th, and the testimony was for almost 2 weeks in April, my client watched the boys while both parents were out of town. And my client facilitated the Skype with the grandsons for Mr. Markell. Now, if he's really worried about her having unsupervised contact, is he going to leave him with her for almost 2 weeks in April? And he does it again and again. And the last time that he does it is on July the 11th. That's according to Wendy. He comes home and he needs help. She's going to go do something, and then now it's his time to have the children. So he asked my client, Mrs. Adelson, if she could watch the boys, and she does. And she knows he likes this particular kind of banana bread that she makes, and they're going to mock us for this, but that's okay. He likes this particular kind of banana bread. It's got chocolate chips in it and no nuts. And so what did my client do? Before he came to pick up the boys the next morning, the evening before, she makes him a loaf. But she hates him. She hates him and she wants him dead. And clearly he hates her because he filed a motion. It's unbelievable. Us sitting here is actually unbelievable. Now, I want to talk about the day that Danny was killed with respect to my client. We're not going to go through all the details again, but what is the...
With respect to my client. Those aren't words. It's just a funny noise. My client. With respect to my client.
The evidence about my client. The state has said...
We've got to hear it again. We've got to hear it again, and then again, and again, and again.
Us sitting here is actually unbelievable.
With respect to my client.
Now, I want to talk about the day that Danny was killed with respect to my client. We're not going to go through all the details again, but what is the evidence about my client? The state has said that my client tried to set up an alibi for her daughter. I don't know how it could have ever been considered an alibi because the man was going to get there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and the evidence is he got killed around 11 o'clock.
It's not an alibi. Why is the state calling it an alibi? It's an excuse for a triangulation of calls. You know, might look pretty suspicious if on the murder day that all the Adelsons, you know, you got Wendy in Tallahassee, you got Donna down in South Beach, you got Charlie up in Fort Lauderdale. So everybody's calling everybody, right? I mean, Charlie and Donna, that's okay because they call each other 18,000 times a day anyway. But, yeah. Murder morning. One calls the other calls the other. Then the other calls the original other. I'm back. You know, it's not just calls happening, it's calls happening between parties. Right? I guarantee there was no call direct from Donna to Charlie that day. Why? Because that didn't fit with the TV not alibi excuse for triangulation. Donna can call Wendy about which room of the house her TV is in. Yeah, he's coming to fix the TV now in the living room. Well, what if I've moved it to the kitchen? How would you know? When you're 400 miles away. Geek Squad is coming to fix the... And then, you know, of course, Wendy's got the excuse to phone Charlie to check with him about, you know, whether she should buy a new one and whether she should fix the old one. I fucking hate that thing she does. Does Aunt Linny have an iPad? Abba has an iPad. What's his code? Fuck. God, doesn't that just make you want to smash her face with a brick?
But State's Exhibit 64FF is from the Geek Squad. And the state presented earlier that not only did Donna Adelson send an email to Wendy that morning, or before then actually, not only did Donna send an email to her about the appointment, but Harvey, the dad, did as well. And here is the form that was completed, not by Donna, they say Donna arranged it. Mr. Harvey actually made this appointment for the broken television. They had purchased a plan for protection on this television and believe they may get a replacement or a repair. When they made it, you have to fill out some information on the form. And what does this say? Would you be willing to accept a sooner appointment if one became available? Yes. Well, now, are you going to accept an earlier appointment if it becomes available? If you've got a homicide planned? That doesn't make any sense. This is supposed to be her alibi, but they're agreeing you could come earlier if you want. And then the mother sends an email. Do we have that? And what she tells her daughter is, if you can't keep Friday, July the 18th between 8 a.m. and noon, call that number to reschedule. The contract is under Harvey Adelson's name with Dad's cell phone number, but the purchaser is actually Miss Donna's name and cell phone number, and she provides her with a work order. Here, we did this for you, like we do everything else for you, and apparently that's a bad thing according to the state, helping your kids this much. But here, we helped you out, but if this doesn't work out for you, change it. A fake alibi, that's what they want you to believe. You got to read bad into every single thing they present to you to come to the conclusion that they come to. Now let's talk about Defense Exhibit 71. There was, according to the testimony that you heard from the state, Wendy Adelson was interviewed at TPD the day that Danny was killed. They went and found her at a restaurant, and they've introduced these pictures about what she did that day and where she went and how she took the long way around. But she's sitting at TPD being interviewed, and she has requested to be able to call her mother. And unlike other exhibits where the state hired someone to enhance it so you could hear the call better, they didn't do that in this case. And the recording is actually inside the room. You can see it. It's an interview room at TPD. And not only are you hearing what Wendy is saying, there's the victim advocate that testified that my client was shocked when she heard the news, but my client is actually on the other end of the phone, so it's not real easy to hear. But if you put the headphones on, you're actually going to hear some things, and you can hear what my client's reaction is to finding out that Danny Markell has been shot. Excuse me. Can we play that?
Yeah, that would have been good. Danny Markell has been shocked. That would have been great. Sigfredo just goes up to his car with a fucking terrifying Halloween mask. Hey, it's almost October 31st. What have we got? A couple of weeks? We need a Halloween crime to cover. I think there's a good one up in Canada that's nice. That Chinese, I think he's Chinese. A Chinese kid that fucking took mushrooms and killed his father while tripping. Holy shit. You know, totally normal kid, right? Wasn't like fucking deranged or nothing. Just took some mushrooms with his pals. They all had a great time. But he went to his father's house where his father lived with his stepmother. Or I don't know if it was, it was his father's woman, basically, that wasn't his mother. He stabbed her in the fucking eye as well, that she lost. And then killed his dad. On mushrooms. And then obviously was arrested and in the interrogation room still tripping. I guess that's what we're doing this Halloween, folks. I think his what's his name? I think I think his initials are JC. Chang. Something Chang. Jason Chang, is it? Does anyone know? What's that guy called? I think it's Jason Chang.
If you could just please put your headphones on. It's not easy to hear. Here.
I need to sit down. I'm fine, and the boys are fine. Danny has been. You can put me on speaker. Yeah. Danny has been shot. And I don't think he's gonna make it. And so, I know, so I found this out around 1 or 2 today, and I'm at the police station, and I'm trying to help them figure out who may have done this. The boys are fine. I had Lynn and Ellen pick them up from school, and they're with Lynn and Ellen right now. And I'm gonna leave here soon and go be with them. But I really need you to come here and be with me. But I want you to either fly, and obviously you can't leave right now, but I need you to get yourself together. If it's too much to drive, I'd really rather that you flew up. I'm at the police station, and I'm gonna leave soon.
I'm at the police station. Everything is fine. I'm fine. The boys are fine. Danny has been shot at his house. I want you to take your time. I love that the victim advocate is not looking down at paperwork. You know? And And I think if she were in the role of a victim advocate, just that, staring Wendy down at this moment in a clear, analytical posture, she's not looking at Wendy in that way to, you know, be an advocate for her victimhood. She's looking at her like, is this, something's wrong with this? What is, this isn't right. Something about this is not right. And it really isn't, right? And I think it's amazing that the fucking defense counsel are showing this clip in their closing argument as a demonstrative of guilt. Fucking hell. What? How did this happen? No.
And be with the boys before they go to bed. They're with Alan and Lynn, and they're totally fine. Yeah, the boys are fine, but they don't know anything yet. In his house, I know. So I just need you to calm down before you get in the car, okay? Okay, so, and it's, it's evening, so if you want to come here tomorrow, I have a lot of people that'll, be here with me, and, we'll have a lot of support, so I want you to take your time.
Okay. I have a lot of people that will be here with me, and I'll have a lot of support. All right. Well, I thought the whole fucking point of bringing up your parents is because you need support and help with the kids, the boys. That's what she said at the beginning. I don't know if I can take care of them like this. I don't know if I can go to play dates like this. I need my parents. General Lasson's like, Wendy, look at me, Wendy. I want to tell you something, Wendy. We've spoken to your parents. We've spoken to your mom and dad. We've spoken to Harvey. Harvey's on the way. But right now, I'm your dad. Okay? Okay, Wendy. Look at me, Wendy. It's like Uncle Isom is being... What was that? Oh, he must be so embarrassed. I know he was around until 2017, but I don't think he would have been, before he retired. Oh, sorry. Before he retired, I think he would have retired sooner had it not been for chasing this case and his reputation. The way he handled this interrogation seemed like he was in the middle of his retirement party. Some fucking colleague had put his badge inside of a Jell-O mold that he had to eat out of the jelly, of the Jell-O. What other things do they do for a cop that's retiring? Because he kept going in and out of the room, right? It felt like he was playing a game in the other room, like pin the tail on the retired detective, chug down a 3-pint chocolate mousse in 20 seconds or less.
Be safe in getting here, but I'd like you to come when you can, okay? Okay, alright. I love you. I think Jane might, I have the car here, but Jane might take me. I'm not going to be alone, so I have a lot of support and I'll be fine. Yeah, if you could just come here, that would be great.
I haven't actually put the headphones on, but hopefully that assisted you in hearing. But like the victim advocate for TPD testified, she was shocked. She's not sitting home waiting for a phone call, let us know that it's done. It's 7 o'clock at night, and Wendy's calling from TPD to tell her mother that Danny has been shot. She has to tell her to calm down before she gets on the road, and you can clearly hear her elevated voice. She's asking about Danny. How did it happen? Where was it at? Well, where's he at now? He's at the hospital. This is not somebody who's planned for him to be killed. Now, the state has made a pretty big deal about...
Oh, yeah? This is not someone badly acting like a concerned ex-mother-in-law. No. This is genuine. What did she expect her to say? Like, Wendy phones her up and says, Mom, I need you to sit down. I need you to sit down, Mom. I'm fine, the boys are fine. Danny has been shot at his house. What are we supposed to expect here? That Donna Adelson, if she's guilty, would say on the other end of the line, like we would just hear a faint voice saying, so our plan worked. And did those guys that we hired get away, or... Yeah. Because that would be proof. That's essential for proof.
Out the road trip that the 70-year-old man and 64-year-old woman take that evening when they leave their home.
Road trip. I don't know if we should call it a road trip. Doesn't that sound like some kind of... You don't say that if you're going to an emergency situation. You say it if you're, going to somewhere fun, like, a festival, or the coast, or the mountains. We're going on a road trip to the mountains. It's not, if you're driving to the hospital, you don't say, we went on a road trip, you just don't. It's a fun thing. Just say drive. When they drove. When they went on the road trip. I mean, that's just totally unnecessary.
It's 11 years into this case. It's this July that just passed before the investigator in this case, who's given testimony again and again, after he's deposed, decides, I'll go ride the route. 11 years. They've been claiming now, my client, arrested almost 2 years ago, that this ride is completely off, but they haven't even tried it themselves, right? And even when he testified, and also when Agent Sanford testified, first of all, he didn't do the whole route, he did a segment, because he's determined that in this segment is where Mrs. Adelson was at for too long. Did you take any snacks when you did the ride? And he's only doing part of it. Well, yeah. Did you get some coffee? Yeah. But they've calculated this drive for these folks who have just received horrible news, and they're clearly upset about it, that they had to be at their son's house dropping off money that was washed, because there's a period of time that it takes them longer to get to their hotel in Orlando than it should have. They took into consideration nothing with respect to their age, that they hadn't had anything to eat. They didn't calculate.
She was 64. 64 and 70. I mean, I guess you could say 70 is a little old, but I'm sure he can cope. And 64, are you kidding?
any time in to stop and get gas, or to use the restroom, or to maybe sit down and have a meal. None of that's counted in. It's got to be a strict from here to there, and you're not there, then you must be doing.
Yeah, let's sit down and have a meal on our road trip. You grab a sandwich from the gas station. A Roadhouse open sandwich.
Doing something bad, and it must have something to do with murder. They give no consideration to that whatsoever. But what's stronger than that is their own testimony from their expert. They have all of these slides that they've shown you where they can show where everybody is in the entire world. And did you notice that for the killers, they had collected records with SunPass and cell towers, etc., and they have a whole map that they're showing you where they went and what they got. They got the SunPass records for the killers. Agents.
Hey, many thanks to Chauncey for the support on PayPal. Good place to support the channel, everybody. And buymeacoffee.com. Support the channel on buymeacoffee.com/True Crime Metrix, and PayPal, links in the description. We have options. There's plenty of options to support the channel. There's plenty of options to become a member of the channel. How great would that be? Social networks and Discord, links in the description. Also, help reach our goal at the top of the chat if you would like to.
Sanford said that my client was a person of interest from the beginning, but he had her locked in a year. And yet here we are 11 years later, and they never bothered to get her SunPass records. They can get them. They got the killers. If they want to tell you that they're stuck in a certain area and they've gotten off in a certain place, all they had to do was get those records. But they didn't do it. They can prove where the killers are, but not my client. But one thing for certain that they did say is they cannot put my client's phone at Charlie's house during this time period that they say that they took too long to get somewhere. They also testified that there is never a point in time that evening where Charlie's cell phone is hitting on a tower and either Harvey or Donna's cell phones are hitting on the same tower. They don't even have them in the same vicinity, much less the house. But they want you to believe that means Mrs. Adelson was there dropping off money. They have no evidence of it. It's just their theory. That's all it is. You can't convict somebody based on theory. You have to have evidence beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, how about this text message that says outside your house? According to them, outside your house means outside your house. I'm not saying that's illogical to jump to that conclusion, but do you have any evidence of it? No, they can't put her there. And according to State's Exhibit 142, if Mrs. Adelson was at Charlie's house, what in the world is she doing hanging outside for over 30 minutes before he gets there? She's got the garage door code to get in, but she's outside the house? They introduced this. She had talked to him according to their records. She had been on the phone with Charlie. She talked to Charlie. And then later on, they send this text message, and it could mean many different things. But it would have been 30 minutes while they were waiting there for him to get there. And there's no reason for them to be outside the house because they know he's not there. It took him 10 minutes to send, or 20 minutes to send a message back saying he was 10 minutes away. And then he had to travel there. They don't have proof that she went there. They want you to envision it and imagine it and believe it because that's their narrative. That's what they tell. And I don't think I said it before, but the witnesses, the additional witnesses that testified that Charlie kept his cash, these $100 bills stapled together, that was Miss Umchenda and Mr. Fitzpatrick. They both testified they knew Charlie well, and that's what he did. No evidence at all that my client did that. Do you remember back in jury selection, I didn't do it for Ms. Adelson, my co-counsel did, Mr. Zellman, but he asked you a series of some similar questions, and he asked you, would you agree that the state could make a mistake in the theory of their case? Yeah. Would you agree that law enforcement could make a mistake in their investigation and determining who they think committed a crime? Yeah. That was the overall response that we got. It was asked of everybody who came up that got individual questions. I mean, questions as a group. Well, according to Special Agent Pat Sanford with the FBI, do you remember his testimony? According to him, he has never made a mistake. Not one time in his career has he ever thought somebody committed a crime and he ended up being wrong. You know what the problem is? When he thought she was a person of interest from the beginning, and then he, according to his testimony, locked in on Donna Adelson, the path didn't lead to Donna Adelson. They tried to build a path with something as flimsy as these emails that they say are the motive for her to have him killed. They made some other mistakes. Rob Adelson calling him to testify was a mistake because they've clearly relied on his evidence, and he testified himself. He wouldn't have the basis to give it. He's never around. And then they called Patricia Byrd. That's their next mistake. She claims, different ways, that Donna was going to buy her some land and a trailer to put on it, a small car to drive, and fix her teeth to testify untruthfully. She said that a white female investigator actually offered her all of those things. But then when it was pointed out to her that the investigator that came to see her was actually an African-American female, oh, it was her that did it. Then she wants to tell you that my client confessed to her. I asked her, did she do what they said you did? And Miss Donna said yes. Well, she's not clear on this confession because when Mr. Zellman was asking her questions, she couldn't remember if it was Donna said she wrote the checks or she confessed to the whole crime. But here's a woman sitting in front of you that has come up all of a sudden at the end of the game, and here she is claiming that an investigator offered her these things, and that was for false testimony, that Miss Adelson was trying to elicit false testimony, have her come in here and swear under oath and testify to things that were not true. Well, both investigators came in here and said that never happened. She was never offered anything. She never told us that Donna had offered her anything. Most importantly, she never told us that Donna confessed. None of that. She's facing going to prison, and she has an opportunity to come in here and testify against Miss Adelson so she can get a deal. What was she facing, 5 or 6 years? Here's the biggest part. Did you hear what the judge read to you this morning before he started with the jury instructions? He read to you a stipulation. As he explained, that means the state and the defense agree to certain facts and you must accept them as true. And what was the stipulation? Patricia Byrd was never on the witness list for Donna Adelson. Well, isn't that interesting? She was going to come in and testify falsely for Donna.
Yeah, I've still not found one thing. Not one thing that the jury could possibly take back to deliberations and say, hey, you know when Jackie was given the closing argument for Donna, well, it really opened my mind, and I think she made a really good point for Donna's innocence. I think she might be innocent. Let's discuss this at length. Let's go back over the discovery. She said go to page 75 of the arrest affidavit. There's nothing. Daniel Rashbaum was better. How is that possible? Don't take my word for it. Go to the wiretaps. 3 minutes and 27 seconds. Wiretap 8. That was better.
Donna Adelson, and she's never been on a witness list. And then you got Drina Bird. This is not just someone who is hoping for some help in her case. She already got it. Her testimony was she is a 27-time convicted felon and/or crimes involving dishonesty, facing 15 years in the Department of Corrections as a prison releasee reoffender, which means you get day for day with no gain time. Here she comes saying she's got all this evidence, and Donna's offering to do the same things for her that, oddly enough, Patricia Bird in the same cell block has said is going to happen. What does she do? We tried really hard not to bore you by playing the whole tape, but there was an exhibit that we put in, and it's the video of where Donna and Miss Bernhardt are sitting at a table. Oddly enough, Miss Bird wasn't there, and she told you that she was with Donna Adelson day and night talking about her case. She wasn't anywhere around when they're sitting at this table, but you can watch that video again. I would just like you to recall this. Who shows up to that table first? Drina Bernhardt does. Who shows up with paper and a writing instrument? Drina Bernhardt does. And while they're sitting at the table, is Donna sitting there just telling her? No, they're having a conversation. How does the writing start? Miss Bernhardt gets out her little hot pink folder, paper, whatever it's called, notebook, plops it open, shoves it towards Donna Adelson, and starts tapping on it. Let's get busy writing. You don't hear those words, but that's what she's doing. Here, write. And allegedly, she's going to do the same thing, give false testimony, and her name is not on a witness list. A little bit more about Catherine McBanawa. No, actually, I covered that. So if this is all they got, up until the time that he died, just that she said bad things about him and helped her daughter with her divorce, what is the evidence that they have after Danny Markell was killed? They put this evidence in. They got nothing to show that my client was involved in any way leading up to the time that he was killed. But they elicited the testimony that it was 2 months after the murder when Charlie Adelson discloses for the first time to his mother what he knows about the case. Now, all she knows is what he's telling her, but it's 2 months after the murder when he's telling her, well, what happened was I got a girlfriend, and I had told her about this $1 million offer, and she said it in front of some of her friends, and they've gone up there and killed Danny Markell.
There she is. Look at that. Look at that. Perfection. It's made it a little bit easier to watch this. I think, just keep the camera on her. I love the pink and blue behind her as well. Doesn't that look intentional? It's like pink and turquoise. Turquoise/teal.
And now they're demanding money, and so they said if I didn't turn over my third of the $1 million, this is what he claims that they elicited, if I didn't turn over that money, then I'd be dead in 48 hours or they'd kill my family. So he goes into his safe and pulls out $138,000 cash, puts it in a bag, gives it to Katie, tells his mother 2 months after the homicide, now he's being extorted. She works at Adelson Institute. They want you to believe this is a family business. Does family work there? Clearly. But who owns the business? Who does the money belong to? Who is Mrs. Adelson writing and paying all the bills for? Who's she doing the salary for? Everybody there. Everybody there. So he tells her, write around $1,000 a month to Katie Magbanawa. It'll save my life. They had this forensic investigator, and they didn't present anything to you, not a single check ever, that Charlie Adelson signed for his business, because he had his mother paying the bills, doing salary and other things at the dental office. That's him paying these people. She's doing her job because he says it'll save his life. She believed it was the truth, so she did what he told her to do. Was there pushback or not? We don't know. They didn't present any evidence about that. They claim she would have pushed back. Maybe she did. We don't know. But what we do know is it's 2 months after the murder before she knows what has gone down. That's their evidence. But she conspired with people to have him killed. She got the hitman to have him killed, and she wanted him killed, and he ended up dead. She doesn't even know about this going on. And the only version she knows is what her son has told her. Did she say, oh, the truth's coming out, the truth's coming out, the truth's coming out? She did, because that's what Charlie had told her the truth was. And that's her son. And she believed him. And she didn't want her son to die. She wrote paychecks at Charlie's instruction. That's not her giving cash and paying off murderers. That's a paycheck to Katie. That's it. That's all she did. So we're bumping along, and now we're in 2016, and it's a bump. Law enforcement testified to you that they created this scenario where they could try and get information to further investigate this homicide. So they've locked in on Mrs. Adelson, so they're going to set her up. Funny thing is, Mr. Sanford testified to what probable cause is that you have to get a wiretap on somebody's phone, and you have to have proof that a crime has been committed, and this is likely the person who committed the crime. It's not proof beyond a reasonable doubt. It's the same that you have to get a warrant to arrest someone. But when they do this bump in April of 2016 to June, who do they get wiretaps on? Charlie Adelson and Catherine Magbanawa. Not Donna Adelson. But they're just sure she's the mastermind behind this. So what do? They follow her. They watch her daily routine. They pick a location where she is taking her grandchildren, Mr. Markel's children, to and from school. And they decide that's where they're going to do this bump. This is State's Exhibit 113 of the bump on the street that took place on April the 19th of 2016.
This is ridiculous. Thank you, Ruth, and for the, yes. It's quite unbelievable. I don't even know if we should finish the whole thing. It's not really going anywhere. I don't trust that there's really anything else to see. I mean, I kind of want to do it as a whole, just to really check,
Am I in anybody's way?
Black shorts. What is it? Yeah. Okay, bud. Listen, no, don't be scared. Listen, just want to let you know that we know that your family has been taking care of Katie and her friend Google for quite some time after your problem up north has been resolved. And I want to let you know that my brother, he's incarcerated. He helped your family with this problem you guys had up north. And we want to make sure that he's going through some rough times. We want to make sure that you take care of what he's going through, the way you're taking.
Mrs. Adelson? Oh, no, don't be scared. My brother Taco is incarcerated in Broward, and I want you to know that we helped your family with your family problem up north. This guy. It never ceases to amaze me how, not gangster he was. Right? I was with Taco up in Broward. I love that guy for being bad at his job.
Care of Katie and Tuco. Well, this will explain it. Thank you.
What did she say? You scared me. And he goes on his little explanation, and her response is, I don't know what you're talking about. Now, the state says, from what happens next, which is a phone call that Mrs. Adelson makes, she has to be involved in this murder. Because she doesn't call the cops, she calls Charlie. Well, why'd she call Charlie? Because Charlie has confessed to her his role in paying the killers back in September of 2014, that it's his money, claiming he's being extorted, claiming his life is at risk. That's who she's going to call, because guess what? Now this man is talking about the people who are involved in the murder. You're taking care of Katie. So yes, she calls. And the state wants you to believe that there's this huge made-up code. They allowed you to look at the transcripts when that was going on. And you looked, I watched, you were all intent looking at the transcripts and listening to the calls. If you go back and want to hear them again, you're welcome to do that. She's responding to his questions and his instructions not to talk about this on the phone, but he keeps pushing and pushing and pushing, so she's trying to give him a hint without actually saying on the phone what's going on. These are hints, not code words like the state wants you to believe. Could I have just 1 second, please?
Sidebar. Jury's gone out of the room. Only purple Skittles left. It's okay, Judge. You'll be back in chambers in just a moment, and you've got a whole cupboard full of packets.
Everyone can be seated. Ms. Fulford, you may continue with the defense closing argument.
As you recall from the testimony, there was a meeting between Charlie Adelson and Catherine Magbanawa after the mother had it was after the bump, right? Do you have that? There's a transcript of that. You can't make out everything they say, but this is part of the transcript that I wanted to point out to you. This is Charlie Adelson talking. Don't waste your time with mom. They need to talk to someone who's first person. Wouldn't it make sense that they make a connection to my family, to me, to my family, not my mom? And then he says to Katie, "You're the office help. Checks are on me. That's just because they found out you come in and work on the weekends. Trust me, I'll keep you on full time, so you're going to get your checks." That's Charlie Adelson agreeing that he's keeping her on payroll, and the checks from him will keep coming.
Yeah, that's why they call it a co-conspirator, lady. They're all working together.
After the bump on the street, Mrs. Adelson receives a letter. And the statement from, or the evidence that came from the state's witness, you recall that he said that his instructions on when he met her on the street was to be polite. This is not so polite. The next thing, she gets a letter and it says, "So my phone is not ringing, so you don't care about Tato and what he did for you. He knows he is fucked, and soon so will you." Now, it doesn't say I'm going to kill you, but now the threatening behavior is coming, and they're taking the next step to try and get Mrs. Adelson to come out and admit to something. If she pays the $5,000, bingo, right? She doesn't do that. So that happened on April the 26th.
Yeah, she doesn't do that because she's cheap as shit. And on the one hand, thinks it might be the cops. And on the other hand, if it is a gangster and she pays $5,000, that's not, part of a prearranged agreement, they might come back the next week and say, "Yeah, we want another $5,000. It looks like you like paying $5,000. How about $10,000? $20,000.
Then she does nothing still. She's scared, and you recall from the phone calls, she's scared. She thinks it's someone related to the killer. She's worried about her safety. She thinks something bad is going to happen to her, but Charlie just keeps saying, Mom, everything's okay. You have nothing to worry about. Then on May the 4th at 2:09 in the morning, the undercover sends her a text message, 2:09 in the morning. So you don't take me serious. You think I'm playing. You have some puta call me to see if I'm for real? If you think what Katie baby daddy did for you can't come back, you're fucking crazy. I want the now or I'm going after the 100K. So threatening, I'm gonna go to the police. This is not going away. Don't think that I'm gone, we're still here, and you're gonna do something about it. That happens on May the 4th. As you recall from going through the wire summary with the state, other calls take place in between. And then on May the 6th, finally, Donna calls the undercover at the number that he had provided initially, that shows here on State's Exhibit 83 with the article about Danny Markell being murdered. Call or text, that's the number that was provided, 305-712-6570, and the dollar amount of $5,000. Now the state has said to you, innocent people don't fold the paper up and put it in their pocket. I'm pretty sure there's not going to be a jury instruction that tells you she must be guilty because she folded it up and put it in her pocket. She took it very seriously. She got her grandchildren, she went home, and she immediately called Charlie to report that. But now she's calling the number that was provided, and you've heard from the testimony, she downloaded an app so it could be recorded, but of course it was being recorded by the undercover as well. Could we play that call? And I think we have provided a transcript to you because it wasn't provided previously, if you'd like to read along.
This is Mrs. Adelson. Is this Danny? Danny. Okay. My grandchildren had my phone before, so.
My grandchildren had my phone before, so that's why I haven't been able to call you for a week. My grandchildren, they had my phone, they hid it. They hid it.
Donna
Adelson?
I'm Mrs. Adelson.
Yes.
My grandchildren had my phone before, so that's, and I just saw that you called.
Oh, okay. You left a message on my voicemail.
Right, you did.
Yes.
This is my problem. You approached me on Alton Road. You handed me an article from the newspaper about my ex-son-in-law.
And the bit we don't get to see is these fucking idiots sitting around their kitchen table writing this script that she's reading out, which is, stick to the facts, Mom. Don't say anything beyond what we discuss here. Just the salient facts. You approached me on Alton Road. You handed me a newspaper clipping about my murdered son-in-law. You asked me for $5,000.
You told me I need to call you and help your friend who was in prison. Now, at the time you did that, I didn't understand what you were talking about. I didn't call you back. Then you mailed me a threatening letter. Then you send me a text message to my phone that says I'm not taking you seriously. So I am taking you seriously. And I really want you to listen to me. I have to tell you, this is important. I have been so stressed out. I have spoken to 10 or 12 people who are close friends of mine, telling them about this and basically picking their brains and asking them what I should do, because...
Do you think Mr. Shagalot worldwide was one of those 10 or 12 people, or did she just not talk to anyone, or just the Adelsons? Why would she go to Mr. Shagalot? I mean, he was probably out of the country anyway. You know, what time can we call him? He's in Peru.
I don't know your friend who is in jail. You mentioned a name. I don't even know his name. I never spoke to him. I don't know what he looks like. I've never met him. I'm sorry your friend's in jail, but I don't know what that has to do with me.
You know exactly what it has to do with. You know exactly what. Listen to me carefully. Listen to me. You just got to listen to me.
You need to ask who this person looks like, or what their name is, something, because I know there's a big reward out there, and if you need money for your friends, that's the way to get it. I mean, I'm asking you nicely. I don't know who he is. I am out of the loop. It is not me.
I don't know who Taco is. Oh. And this is what, 2016, right? So this call that she's listening to, she was 66 years old. And now look, 9 years later, this is, and it's verdict day, right? It's all happening today.
If I can help, I would help. I mean, that's what.
Just like I told you, listen to me. Just like I told you that day, we know that your family had a problem up north. We know that problem was taken care of about a year and a half, 2 years ago, and we know that Katie has been taken care of, and has been taken care of. Now my brother in jail. We were in Broward together. He told me the whole thing. And he hasn't been taken care of. You know. Now, all that's being asked for is 5K. That's all we're asking for is 5K. And he told me everything, and I know everything. I know who's involved. I know everything, and I'll get the 100K for myself.
You know,
yeah, that sounds like a better idea, man. You know, on the one hand, I could get $5,000, but if I go to the police and tell them everything I know, they're going to give me $100,000. Oh, but it's a pretty long drive to the police station, so I think I'm going to take the 5. You know, I'll be able to buy, a 15-year-old second-hand Subaru.
Plan is to send the 5K. Everybody knows what's going on.
I don't, you're saying everyone knows. I know I lost my ex-son-in-law. I did not have anything to do with it. That's why I said, ask him.
I did not have anything to do. You know, we saw this in her written text in the email. She does this thing about underlining and italics and putting things in bold and quotes, right? And she does it in her speech as well. I did not have anything. That's bold, italics, underlined, and in quotes, in speech terms, right? Absolutely.
That's what my brother Tato told me. He told me everything when we were in jail. He told me everything and who was involved. I know everything.
Well, I don't. That's the problem. I'm telling you, it's not me. It's not me. I have had a year of aggravation, a year and a half of aggravation over this. My daughter, my grandchildren, it is not me. And when I asked my friends, what do they think? They said, well, this person needs to get a description of you because of what you look like, or it's not me. I don't know who caused this. It wasn't me. I mean, I don't know.
I'll tell you, just like that day when I talked to you, this is not going away. This is not going to go away. The Stato told me everything. He wasn't being taken care of. He needed.
This ain't going away. I was with Taco, and he told me everything. Everything doesn't mean anything unless you assign it to something, right? What do you mean everything? What did he have did he have an encyclopedia? God, that was hard to say. It is 5:20 in the morning. Did he have an encyclopedia with him that he read out to you page by page? Aardvark. From Aardvark to Zulu. Taco told me everything from Aardvark to Zulu, including tacos. He told me about what's another classic that's in an encyclopedia? I don't know.
The 5K, spend 5K. That's all we were asking for. Don't do that.
I don't know who Stato is. You don't understand.
We know you know who Stato is, but you know who Katie is. And you know the contacts Katie has, and she has, listen to me, let's stop fucking around. Let's stop fucking around.
You see what I mean about this gangster character he has? Alright, let's stop fucking around. Let's stop fucking around. We're not gonna fuck around. Oh god, it's classic. They're all the same. Katie. Somebody buy us a coffee so we can hear Katie. Fucking A, bro.
Okay? You know who Katie is. And you know that Katie has somebody that knows stuff. And they took care of a problem for you people. That's just the bottom line. The bottom line is you know who the fuck Katie is.
Look, I don't.
I'm not fucking around with it. You know who Katie is. You know that they took care of Katie and her people. Nobody's taking care of Tato. I know you don't know who Tato is.
No, I think.
But we know who all of you are. And this ain't going away.
You know what?
So I can give you that. You want to send the 5K?
Here's what you need to do. You need to go and.
Don't tell me what to do. I know what to do and I'm doing it.
You're looking for money. Get $100,000 or whatever whatever the reward is. It isn't me. You have got the wrong person. That's why I said ask your friends.
You're Donna Adelson.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Well, I know. We know who's involved in all this.
Yes, this is not making sense. I mean, if you want the money, you should get it from the police. They can give you a whole lot more than you're asking me for money for someone. I can't do this. I have had too much stress and too much aggravation from this, and I don't know what you are talking about. I just don't know. I just don't know.
Good. I think you should talk to Katie. Talk to people that are involved in this. You'll know. You know what's going on.
That's why I'm.
You can tell me. You can tell me all you fucking want, but I know you know. Because I know, because I heard when I was locked up in Broward with my brother Cecil, he told me everything. Everything. He told me everything.
Well, then he.
I just wanted to take care of him because fucking Katie was being taken care of with her fucking food.
I just think instead of asking me, you should get the money from the police. There's a lot of money out there, and I know, if you think you know who this is, then go ahead and do it, because I know it isn't me. I know it isn't me. And I can't take this kind of level of stress. I just can't. I know I didn't do anything.
You talk to people, you talk to the right people, you talk to people, you make this 5K come to me. That's all I need. Just do it and get it to me. Do it and get it to me. Bye.
They tried 5 different times. I'm sorry. Did you want a particular position? Yeah.
Leave it right there so it's not moving around.
Sorry, Judge. 5 times they tried. They tried to get her to pay the money. They tried to get her to admit that she was involved in this, and 5 times it failed because Mrs. Adelson tells them in this call, he keeps telling her, I know everything, I know everybody, I know what happened, and she tells him in this call, if you know, go to the police. Go to the police and get the reward. Why in the world, if she's guilty of committing these crimes, is she telling somebody who apparently knows everything to go to the police? If you're guilty, you're not sending anybody to the police. That's why they think they can get her with the 5K. But she didn't do it. And still consistently, Charlie is saying, nothing to worry about. Don't worry. You can hear the fear and worry in her voice on that call. Now, the state talks about coding and code words, and one of the things they say is that in one of the discussions with Charlie, Mrs. Adelson says, it's about the 2 of us. It couldn't be more clear what that means. Her son told her in September of 2014 that he got extorted, he has to pay this money, he has paid the money, and he's going to keep paying the money so he doesn't get killed, right? Now somebody has walked up to her on the street about the exact same subject, Mr. Markell being killed, and demanding $5,000 from her. So now he's brought her into this. It is the 2 of them. They're not knocking on his door. They're coming up to her on the street. They're sending her text messages. They're sending letters. They're calling. They won't stop. But she didn't do anything. If her son did, that's on him, not her. There's no evidence that if Charlie Adelson had not told her in September of 2014 what he told her, there's no evidence that she would know anything at all about what happened. That's her single source. And he brought it to her. Bring cash. That's one of the things she says. Bring cash. Without telling him what has happened on the street, she's telling him they want cash. That's not code. That's hint, hint, hint. You don't want to talk on the phone, but you won't stop asking me, so I'm going to hint to you what this is about. There's nothing code about that. The state is interpreting what they think these things mean. It's not their interpretation that matters, it's the evidence that's presented. The judge has read you the jury instructions. So I'm not going over all of them with you, but I want to say this. Murder in the first degree, the state has to prove that on July the 18th of 2014, Donna Adelson intended that Dan Markell be killed on that date. They have to prove that. There's no evidence of it. First degree murder is killing with premeditation, is killing after consciously deciding to do so. The decision must be present in the mind at the time of the killing. The premeditated intent to kill must be formed before the killing. They've got no evidence of her doing anything until after Mr. Markell is dead, when she writes the checks at the instruction of her son. Conspiracy. The state has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the intent of Donna Adelson was that the offense of first-degree murder would be committed on the date that he's killed, not after the date, before and up to the time that he shot and killed. They have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that she had that intent, and they have nothing. Solicitation to commit first-degree murder. They have to prove the following two elements beyond a reasonable doubt. I'm sorry, back to conspiracy. I forgot to say this. In order to carry out the intent, Donna Adelson had to agree, conspire, combine, or confederate with Charles Adelson or Catherine Magbanawa or other persons to cause the first-degree murder to be committed. Had to be before, no evidence of it. Solicitation, prove the following two elements beyond a reasonable doubt. Donna Adelson solicited Charles Adelson or Catherine Magbanawa or other persons to commit first-degree murder. During the solicitation, Donna Adelson commanded, encouraged, hired, or requested Charles Adelson or Catherine Magbanawa or other persons to engage in specific conduct which would constitute the commission of first-degree murder. What does solicit mean? It means to ask earnestly or to try to induce another person to engage in specific conduct. We know that the state has not presented evidence of Mrs. Adelson actually shooting and killing Dan Markell. They are asking that you find her to be a principal, that these other people did the killing, but she's a principal. And to prove that she's a principal, you have to show that she helped another person or persons commit the crime. In doing so, the state has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant intended the crime to occur and the defendant did some act or said something that was intended to and that did incite, cause, encourage, assist, or advise the other person or persons to actually commit the crime. For first-degree premeditated murder, the state must prove the defendant intended that the killing of Daniel Markell occur. Then you heard the instruction of a principal when active participant is hired by the defendant. If the defendant paid or promised to pay another person or persons to commit a crime, to commit a crime means she paid or promised to pay them before they killed him. There is no evidence of that at all. She never paid any of her money. All she did was write the checks that her son told her to write from his business account. It says you have to show that she made or promised the payment in exchange for the commission or promised to commit the crime or to help commit the crime. Nothing. There's nothing at all linking her to Catherine Magbanawa, Sigfredo Garcia, or Luis Rivera. Her link to Charlie Adelson is it's her son. They like to show those little arrows going back and forth like it's a train, I think they said. This isn't a train. This is somebody's life. Danny Markell's life. And now Donna Adelson's life. This isn't cute. This isn't powdered sugar. They have charged my client with first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, solicitation of the people to kill, and their example is she's got powdered sugar all over her. No, she doesn't. They want you to believe it. That's their theory, but a theory doesn't prove a crime. They have to present evidence, and they haven't done that. Let's talk about Vietnam and the evidence that the state has introduced. Their exhibits 129 and 130 are the visas for Donna Adelson and Harvey Adelson. That one's Harvey's. Would you put Donna? Now, there's something very important about these. It says their name and what they're going to do. you see that line? It's in, I guess that's Vietnamese, but underneath it, it's in English. And it says, good for single/multiple entries, that it is a visa for tourism, not residence. It's a visa for tourism. They can come and go as they please. And that it is good until, where's that date? Here it is. It's good until, they put the dates backwards. So this is February the 5th of 1950. And the state says, oh, well, she was going to be gone past the date of the bar mitzvah. This visa allows them to come home, and if they want to go back, go back. Now here's something really important. The state said that we're trying to tell you she was going on vacation. That's not true. Her prior attorney testified that before there was a conviction, she was very upset and said she wanted to kill herself if her son was convicted. And her husband was concerned about her doing that, so he wanted to get her away, to clear her head so that she wouldn't take such a drastic step. That's not a vacation. She's beyond herself. And then he gets convicted, and it's worse. And here's the thing, the state has been saying, since this woman was arrested, that she was going to flee this country to avoid prosecution. Flee. She's going away. She is not coming back. She's going somewhere where we could never get her and bring her back. They took almost nothing with them. They took a few credit cards, some cash, 2 pieces of luggage, and 1 carry-on. This is Defense Exhibit 147. When the search warrant was executed, after Mrs. Adelson was taken into custody, here's the luggage in plain view with the tags on it to go to one stop and then to Vietnam. And that's terrible. I'm sorry, I'm not criticizing. I think you gotta hold it. In any event, there's the luggage. It's there when the search warrant is executed, and the gentleman from Miami, what did he tell you about that when they executed the search warrant? They didn't even look in the luggage to see what they had. Not even look in the luggage. More important than that is they conducted, according to him, a thorough search. And this is State's Exhibit 160. And it's not real easy to see, and I might just have to pass it along to you because this is really blurry. You see that? You see that little light down there underneath the white shirt? See that? That's the size of Mrs. Adelson's safe, sitting there on that little shelf. They never even bothered to open it and look in it to see if there's any stapled cash. That little bitty safe on that shelf, is that where she allegedly got $138,000 in cash and washed it and stapled it after she got this phone call and took it up to Charlie? Never happened, couldn't happen, wasn't gonna happen. And the investigator was so concerned about it, he never even touched it. But here's what the state presented, and just like so much other evidence that they presented in their case, this is a state witness. And on cross-examination, when asked, Sergeant Chris Corbett testified there was no proof that they were actually going to flee. When confronted with the 90-day visa, his testimony was, well, they were going to be gone a long time. That's not fleeing. That's not avoiding prosecution. She got arrested almost 2 years ago under that claim. And it took them almost 2 years to come in here and have a jury seated on these serious charges, and they finally admit there was no evidence that she was going to flee. Danny Markill was killed on July the 18th of 2014, and Mrs. Adelson, according to Agent Sanford, was a person of interest, but she was not arrested in 2014. They immediately started, according to him, gathering bank account information, emails, phone records of Donna Adelson. 2015, she was not arrested. In 2016, they conducted the bump operation against Donna Adelson, and we've just gone through that entire bump operation. And still, even though others were arrested, Donna Adelson was not arrested. She was not arrested in 2017. She was not arrested in 2018. She was not arrested in 2019 or 20 or 21 or 22. Not arrested. And what did Agent Sanford tell you? That they had listened in on this call or heard the recorded call where Mrs. Adelson thinks she's gotten cut off from her son, and she's talking about going away, getting airline tickets, and she wants to kill herself. She talks about it on there. She wants her and Harvey to do it together. And he wants to get her out of town and away from the media and clear her head. And Agent Sanford said, here's how invested he is, they think they might get a warrant for her on the day that she's arrested. They're not sure if they're going to try or not. But maybe they're going to. So he's up here in Tallahassee, and what does he do? He hops in his car and he starts driving towards Miami, not even knowing whether they're going to try to get a warrant. When Mrs. Adelson got her visa, there was not a warrant. She was doing nothing wrong. When she booked the ticket, or Rick Sugarin helped book the ticket, there was no warrant. She was not doing anything wrong. She got advice of her legal counsel that there was no warrant. There was no promise with Mrs. Kappelman, but her lawyer told her of the possibility if they got a warrant, she could self-surrender and turn herself in. She packed her bags, no warrant. She gets in her car to drive to the airport, no warrant. She gets to the airport, and sometime therein, they actually get a warrant, and she knows nothing about it. They go to where she is seated with her husband, waiting for the flight to board, sitting down amongst the crowd, and they watch her and wait, even though they've got a warrant. They don't arrest her. And he gives some, oh, well, you know, there was a crowd of people. There's no more crowd than when you enter the jetway and everybody's trying to get on the airplane. They waited until she presented her ticket and walked through the little door so they could say that she was actually fleeing. It was a setup. They knew exactly what was going on. They set her up so they could claim, oh, we captured the matriarch murderer. She was fleeing the country to flee prosecution, never to return. It was a great story. Got a lot of headlines. Spun with their theory. But we're in trial almost 2 years later, and they know she wasn't fleeing this country. You know, I'm gonna sum it up here. And this is from the state's evidence. TPD, FDLE, the FBI, and one agency in Miami-Dade are all involved. They have people listening to phone calls around the clock, 24 hours a day during this 2-month bump period. In their investigation, in their words, they have collected hundreds of thousands of emails. Over 2,000 phone calls during that 2-month period, recorded text messages, bank records. They got experts analyzing all of this stuff. They got cell tower records, and I don't even understand all that stuff, but it supposedly can place you in places. They've been working on this case, according to Agent Sanford, right up until the time he was sitting on the stand, still investigating Donna Adelson. If you were going to have proof that Donna Adelson committed a crime, you should have had it beyond a reasonable doubt before you put handcuffs on her in the Miami International Airport. They still didn't even know that day if they were going to arrest her. In all the evidence they have collected, she can't help herself but run her mouth. Not a single email, no phone calls that are recorded, no written documents, no emails, not one single thing that said anything about wanting Danny Markell killed. The most aggressive thing they have are her foul words and wanting to aggravate him. This is not, could she possibly have done it? Could she probably have done it? Might she have done it? You have been sitting here hearing testimony for almost 2 weeks, and there's not a single piece of evidence that connects my client to that murder. Charlie Adelson? Yep. Potentially Wendy Adelson? She's the one who said she hated him. She's the one fighting with him in court. Donna Adelson? Nothing. Not a single piece of evidence. You have to find her not guilty because they have failed to do their job on all 3 counts. They cannot prove she had him killed. At the time that he was killed, she had paid anybody or asked anybody to do it. Please take this case seriously. Please go back and review the evidence. Please discuss what's been presented. Don't get talked into something that you don't agree with. The verdict has to be unanimous. If you don't reach an agreement, if you can't be unanimous, there's another procedure we go through. But please don't buy into what the state is about to do, telling me how wrong I am or telling you how wrong I am about everything and how they have this mountain of evidence, because they admitted it. Agent Sanford admitted it. There is no direct evidence linking Donna to anything. And all this circumstantial evidence isn't really circumstantial evidence. It's argument about what it could mean, what it possibly mean. Could it have been? That's not beyond a reasonable doubt. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fulford. State, you may give your rebuttal.
Well, you know, I don't think we learned that much from it. Jackie. It did get a little bit better towards the end, in the summary. Anyway, let's go to the chat. But Jackie, Donna covered in powdered sugar, so she definitely had knowledge and went with it. Yeah, everyone's talking about that powdered sugar now, aren't they? Our good friend, Grish. Mushroom Head Jackie. There's a lot of mushrooms going around this evening. Yano says, Donna picked up a real winner as her attorney. She's fortunate Jackie didn't upgrade the penalty to the death penalty. That would have been it'd be a lot less complicated, wouldn't it? We're going to put you to death. And, today. No appeal. Put you to death. Today. Quickly. All right. Okay, I've got the dentist in about 4 hours. So I'm going to go. I'm going to go, and I'm going to come back. When? Very soon. Very soon. Probably tomorrow with our special show that's almost finished prepping. All right, thanks for coming, everybody. Thanks for the moderators and the chatters and the super chatters and everybody else that does what you do. I mean, it's great. It's great to have you here. It's great to have everybody here. All right? We will see you soon. Thank you, everybody. Good night.